There are moments that shape lives, when blood flows under fluorescent lights, when you see death in the eyes of the man who was supposed to love you, when a stranger catches you as you fall and everything changes forever. This is the story of Mafia Boss, a woman who was once a victim, and Adrian Cade, a man the whole city fears, about how they found each other in the rubble, about how love can be born from violence. Watch to the end, hit like, and comment where you're watching from. I want to know how far this story has come. The fluorescent lights hummed like dying insects above aisle 7. Mafia Boss barely heard them, her vision tunneled, white noise pressing against her skull, the linoleum floor tilting beneath her feet. She gripped the edge of a shelf stacked with canned soup, her knuckles bone white, her breath coming in shallow gasps that tasted like copper and fear. 3 days since she'd eaten anything solid. 5 since she'd slept more than an hour. The bruises around her throat had faded from purple to sickly yellow-green, but they still throbbed with every swallow, every breath, a constant reminder of Michael's hands and his voice. You think you can leave me? You think anyone else would want you? She'd thought the grocery store would be safe. Neutral ground. Just grab something, anything, and get back to the motel room she'd paid for in cash, the one where she'd been hiding for 72 hours, jumping at every footstep in the hallway, every car door slamming outside. But her body had other plans. The shelf swam in her vision, her legs buckled. She didn't feel herself falling, only the sudden absence of vertical, the stomach drop of gravity claiming her. The floor rushed up, hard and unforgiving, and she thought with distant clarity, this is how it ends. Alone, on dirty linoleum, between tomato sauce and Campbell's chicken noodle. Then something caught her. Not something, someone. Strong arms wrapped beneath her shoulders, arresting her fall with a precision that spoke of reflexes honed by necessity, not chance. She felt herself pulled against a solid chest, the fabric of an expensive coat rough against her cheek. A voice cut through the white noise, low, controlled, edged with something that might have been fury. Get me a chair, now. Not a request, a command. Alara's eyes struggled to focus. She saw polished shoes first, Italian leather, probably cost more than her rent. Then the hem of a charcoal coat. Then a face that made her forget how to breathe for reasons that had nothing to do with malnourishment. Sharp jawline, pale eyes the color of winter ice. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Beautiful in the way a knife is beautiful, in the way violence can be elegant if you dress it up enough. But it was his eyes that held her. They swept over her face, catalogued every bruise, every hollow, every mark of systematic destruction. And something shifted behind that glacial exterior, a crack in ice, magma beneath stone. His grip tightened fractionally. Who did this to you? The question landed like a fist. Alara tried to speak. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. Her throat seized, memory and muscle fusing into paralysis. She saw Michael's face superimposed over the stranger's, saw his fist coming down, felt the wall against her spine, the air cut off, the world going black. Hey! The stranger's voice changed, gentler, but no less intense. Stay with me. Focus on my voice. You're safe right now. Do you understand? Right now, you're safe. A plastic chair appeared, dragged over by a wide-eyed store employee who looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. The stranger lowered Alara into it with surprising care, keeping one hand on her shoulder as if afraid she might dissolve. Call an ambulance, he said, not looking away from Alara. No. The word tore out of her throat like broken glass. She grabbed his wrist, her fingers barely circling it, her grip weak but desperate. No hospitals, please. He'll find me. He always finds me. The stranger went very still. When he spoke again, his voice carried a different quality, something cold and final, like a door slamming shut on a crypt. He won't. 2 words, absolute certainty. Alara stared up at him. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. He crouched down, bringing himself to eye level. Up close, she could see details. A thin scar bisecting his left eyebrow, the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw, the way his pupils contracted as he studied her. You're running. You're scared. And whoever put those marks on you thinks he owns you. Am I wrong? She couldn't answer, couldn't look away. What's your name? Alara. A whisper. Elara. He repeated it like he was committing it to memory, cataloging it alongside whatever else he'd learned about her in the last 60 seconds. My name is Adrian Cade, and I'm going to ask you a question, Elara. I need you to think very carefully before you answer. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called 911 despite his instruction. Adrian didn't react to them. Do you want to go back to him? No? Instant, visceral, the most honest word she'd ever spoken. Do you have somewhere safe to go? Silence. She looked away. At the dirty floor, the scattered cans that had fallen when she collapsed, anywhere but those ice chip eyes that saw too much. That's what I thought. Adrian stood, pulling out his phone. He pressed a single button, speed dial, and when someone answered, he spoke without preamble. Lena, I need you to prepare the East Guest Suite. Medical supplies, women's clothing size. He glanced at Elara, calculated. Extra small and food. Soup, broth, nothing heavy. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up before whoever Lena was could respond. Can you walk? He asked Elara. I think so. Then we're leaving. Before those ambulances arrive and start asking questions you don't want to answer. Elara's mind reeled. Every instinct screamed danger. You don't know this man. You don't go anywhere with strange men. That's how you ended up with Michael in the first place. But those instincts had failed her before. They'd told her Michael was charming. Told her his jealousy meant he cared. Told her she could fix him if she just tried harder, loved him better, stopped provoking him. Her instincts were shit. So she looked at Adrian Cade, the stranger with winter eyes and expensive shoes who'd caught her before she hit the ground, and made a choice based on nothing but the fury she'd seen flicker across his face when he looked at her bruises. Okay, he offered his hand. She took it. The world tilted again as she stood, but his grip steadied her. He didn't let go as he guided her toward the exit, past gawking shoppers and the store manager shouting something about liability. A sleek black car idled at the curb. A Mercedes, windows tinted dark enough to hide sins. Adrian opened the passenger door, helped her inside, then circled to the driver's seat with economical movements. The engine purred to life. He pulled into traffic like he owned the road, which, given the way other cars seemed to melt out of his path, maybe he did. Elara pressed herself against the leather seat, watching Boston slide past the window. Brownstones and streetlights, graffiti and gentrification existing in uneasy parallel. Her entire life had been spent in this city, but she'd never seen it from inside a car that probably cost more than she'd earn in 5 years. You're afraid, Adrian said. Not a question. Yes. Of me, or of what I'm taking you away from? Elara considered lying, decided against it. Both. The corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile, more like acknowledgement of a truth too sharp to soften. Good. Fear keeps you alert. But understand this, Elara, I am not him. I don't hurt people who can't fight back. I don't raise my hand to someone weaker, and I sure as hell don't leave marks on women's throats. Then what do you do? The question escaped before she could stop it. Adrian's hands tightened on the steering wheel, just for a second, just enough to make his knuckles go white. I remove problems, permanently. The matter-of-fact delivery made it worse. No bravado, no threat. Just statement of fact, like he was describing his job at an accounting firm. You're a criminal. Another thing she probably shouldn't say out loud, but exhaustion had stripped away her filters. Yes. No denial, no justification. Should I be terrified right now? Probably. He glanced at her, brief, assessing. But you're not running. Why? Elara looked down at her hands. They were shaking, had been shaking for days, maybe months. Because I'm already terrified. Have been for 2 years. At least with you, I don't know what happens next. With Michael, I knew exactly what was coming, every night, every time I said the wrong thing, or looked at him wrong, or breathed too loud. I knew what happened next, and I couldn't stop it. She felt tears building behind her eyes, and hated them. Hated the weakness they represented, the vulnerability. But they came anyway, hot and angry and long overdue. He choked me. The words tumbled out, fragments of confession. 3 days ago. I thought I was dying. I thought the edges of my vision went gray and I couldn't breathe, and he just kept squeezing. Then he let go. Just like that, let go and walked away like nothing happened, like he just adjusted the thermostat. Adrian said nothing, his jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. I left that night, packed what I could carry, and ran. But he'll find me. He always finds me. He has friends everywhere, people who owe him favors. I can't. Her voice broke. I can't keep running. You won't have to. The certainty in his voice should have sounded arrogant. Instead, it sounded like inevitability. They pulled up to a building that made Alara's breath catch, glass and steel rising against the night sky, overlooking Boston Harbor like a sentinel. The kind of place that had doormen and security and residents who summered in the Hamptons. Adrian parked in an underground garage, concrete and fluorescent lights, and numbered spaces that probably cost more per month than her entire apartment. He came around to help her out, and she let him, because her legs were trembling, and pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. The elevator was all mirrors and brushed steel. Alara caught her reflection and almost didn't recognize herself. Hollow cheeks, dark circles, hair that hadn't been washed in days. She looked like a ghost, like something already dead but too stubborn to lie down. Adrian stood beside her, deliberately not looking at the mirrors. Lena will help you, he said as the numbers climbed. She manages my household, former combat medic, survived things that would break most people. She doesn't judge, doesn't pry, and she knows how to keep her mouth shut. Why are you doing this? Alara asked. She'd been avoiding the question, but it pressed against her chest like a fist. You don't know me. I could be lying, could be running from the police, could be… You're not. Flat. Final. How do you know? The elevator stopped, penthouse level. The doors slid open onto a private foyer with artwork that probably belonged in museums and floors so polished Alara could see her reflection in them. Adrian stepped out, waited for her to follow. When she did, he turned to face her fully. I know, he said quietly, because I've seen that look before. The way you flinched when I touched your shoulder. The way you checked the exit before you got in my car. The way your hands shake but your eyes don't. Like you've used up all your fear and there's nothing left but anger. I know what it looks like when someone's been systematically destroyed by someone they trusted. And I know what happens when no one intervenes. Something in his voice, a crack in the permafrost, made Alara look up. Really look. Past the expensive clothes and the dangerous beauty and the controlled violence humming beneath his skin. Who didn't intervene for you? She asked softly. Adrian's expression shuddered. He turned away, producing a key card. That's a conversation for another time. Come on. The penthouse was obscene. There was no other word for it. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, furniture that looked like art installations, a kitchen that could have been transplanted from a five-star restaurant. Everything was clean lines and muted colors, grays and blacks and whites with occasional splashes of deep blue, like frozen water at midnight. A woman emerged from a hallway, late 40s, silver threading through dark hair pulled into a practical bun, dressed in simple black clothing that somehow managed to look both comfortable and severe. She took one look at Alara and her expression shifted from neutral to something softer. Lena Moros, she said, accent placing her somewhere in Eastern Europe. You must be Alara. Come. You need food, shower, rest, in that order. She shot Adrian a look. You. Out. You hover like helicopter, make everyone nervous. To Alara's surprise, Adrian obeyed, but not before catching her wrist, gently, carefully, nothing like Michael's grabbing hands. You're safe here, he said. No one knows about this place except Lena and a handful of people I trust with my life. No one gets past security without my permission. You understand? You sleep, you eat, you heal. Everything else we figure out after. Alara nodded, not trusting her voice. He released her wrist and disappeared down a hallway, leaving her alone with Lena. The older woman studied her with eyes that had clearly seen their share of carnage. You are lucky, she said finally. Adrian does not bring people here. Not ever. You must be special, or he must be very angry at whoever hurt you, possibly both. I'm not special, Alara whispered. I'm just… alive, Lena interrupted. You are alive. That is enough for now. Come. Soup first. Then we talk about rest. The East guest suite was larger than Alara's entire apartment had been. Lena settled her on a plush sofa near windows that framed the harbor in glass and steel, then disappeared into the kitchen. Alara heard the clink of dishes, the sound of a microwave humming. She stared out at the water, dark and endless, lit by scattered lights from ships and distant buildings. Somewhere out there was the motel room she'd abandoned. Somewhere was Michael, probably tearing apart her old apartment looking for clues, calling her phone over and over, leaving messages that cycled through rage and apology and manipulation. "Baby, I'm sorry. You know I didn't mean it. You just make me so crazy. Come home. We'll work it out. We always work it out." Except they never worked it out. They just reset the timer until the next explosion. Lena returned with a bowl of chicken broth and crackers. "Slow," she instructed, sitting across from Alara. "Your stomach has forgotten how to process. Small sips, small bites. We do not want you sick." The first spoonful tasted like heaven and ash. Alara's stomach cramped immediately, but she forced herself to take another sip, then another. Lena watched without comment, the way you'd watch a wounded animal, ready to intervene if necessary, but giving space otherwise. "Adrian said you were a combat medic," Alara ventured after several minutes of silence. "Long time ago. Different life." Lena's expression remained neutral. "But yes, I have seen many injuries. Yours," she gestured vaguely at Alara's throat, "I have seen before, many times. Men who use hands as weapons are cowards. They choose soft targets, places that bruise easy but do not break, leaves room for deniability, for gaslighting." The clinical assessment should have felt cold. Instead, it felt validating, like someone finally naming the things she'd been too afraid to name. "He'll find me," Alara said. The broth sat heavy in her stomach. "He always does. He has connections, cops, lawyers, people who owe him. I'm not safe anywhere." Lena smiled, thin and sharp as a scalpel. "Then it is good you are here, because Adrian has better connections, worse connections depending on perspective, and he is very good at making people disappear when they become problems." The words should have terrified Alara. Instead, they landed like a promise. "What does he do?" Alara asked. "Adrian. What exactly does he do?" Lena considered her answer carefully. "He controls things. Supply chains most people do not talk about in polite company. He enforces agreements when legal contracts are insufficient. He provides solutions to problems that cannot be solved through traditional channels." She paused. "But he has rules. No children, no trafficking, no preying on vulnerable. These are lines he does not cross, and he destroys anyone who does." "A criminal with a conscience," Alara murmured. "A monster who chose his targets carefully," Lena corrected. "Do not romanticize Milaya. Adrian is dangerous, but he is also fair, and right now you need dangerous more than you need safe." Alara finished the broth in silence, processing. Everything felt surreal. The penthouse, the view, the matter-of-fact discussion of violence and criminality like they were discussing weather patterns. "Come," Lena said, taking the empty bowl. "Shower now. I have laid out clothes. They will be too big, but we adjust tomorrow. Tonight, you rest." The bathroom was all marble and chrome, larger than Alara's bedroom had been. Lena showed her how the shower worked. Apparently even plumbing was complicated at this tax bracket, then left her alone. Alara stood under water hot enough to scald, watching steam rise in clouds, watching dirt and fear and 2 years of accumulated damage swirl down the drain. She scrubbed her skin until it hurt, washed her hair 3 times, stood there until the water ran cold. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel that felt like spun clouds, she found soft pajamas laid out on the bed, expensive cotton, tags still attached. Size extra small, just like Adrian had guessed. She dressed mechanically, her body moving through familiar motions while her mind reeled. Every muscle ached, her throat throbbed. But beneath the pain, something else stirred, something she'd thought Michael had killed. Hope. Small. Fragile. Probably stupid. But there. She climbed into the bed, king-sized, covered in sheets with a thread count that had to be illegal, and expected insomnia, expected nightmares, expected her brain to replay every moment of the last 2 years on an endless loop. Instead, she fell asleep between one breath and the next, dragged under by exhaustion and the first sense of safety she'd felt in months. She didn't hear Adrian check on her an hour later, didn't see him stand in the doorway, backlit by hallway lights, staring at her sleeping form with an expression that would have terrified anyone who knew what it meant. Didn't hear him make a phone call from his study, voice low and cold and absolutely final. Marcus, I need you to locate someone for me. Michael Torrance. Late 20s, works in real estate, lives somewhere in Back Bay. I'll send you a photo from the woman's phone records. A pause. The person on the other end asked a question. No, Adrian said. Don't touch him yet. Just find him. I want to know everywhere he goes, everyone he talks to, every breath he takes. And Marcus? Make sure he knows he's being watched. I want him scared. Another pause. Because fear is the first installment. The rest comes later. He hung up, poured himself 3 fingers of scotch, and stood at his window looking out over the city he'd built his empire in. Somewhere out there was a man who thought he could put his hands on a woman's throat and walk away, who thought power meant domination, who thought no one would stop him. Adrian had spent 15 years becoming the thing people whispered about in dark corners, had built his reputation on calculated violence and absolute follow-through, had learned that in his world, mercy was a weakness that got you killed. But he'd also learned, painfully, permanently, what happened when no one intervened, when everyone looked away, when a woman's screams went unheard and her bruises went unnoticed and she died alone in an apartment while neighbors turned up their televisions. His sister, 20 years ago, and he'd been too young, too powerless, too fucking useless to stop it. He took a drink, let the scotch burn down his throat. Not this time. This time, he had power, had resources, had the kind of reach that made problems disappear, and Michael Torrance had just become a problem. The city glittered below, oblivious. Adrian's reflection stared back at him from the window, pale eyes, hard mouth, the face of a man who'd forgotten how to feel anything but rage and control. Except when he'd caught Alara, when he'd seen those bruises, when she'd looked up at him with eyes that had used up all their fear and found only anger. He'd felt something then, something beyond rage, something that felt dangerously like purpose. He finished his drink, set the glass down with careful precision, and went to make more phone calls. Because Alara Voss was under his protection now, and in his world, that meant something. It meant anyone who touched her would learn exactly what Adrian K. did to people who hurt what was his. And Michael Torrance's education was about to begin. Dig. Alara woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it crashed back. The grocery store, the fall, Adrian Cade's winter eyes, and promises spoken like prophecy. She sat up slowly, her body cataloging every ache, every bruise, every reminder of why she was here. The bedside clock read 9:47 a.m. She'd slept for 11 hours. Someone had left a tray on the nightstand. Coffee, toast, a bowl of mixed berries. A note in precise handwriting. Eat, then join me in the study. Third door on the right. AK. Alara ate mechanically, tasting nothing, her mind already spinning. In daylight, last night felt like fever dream, but the evidence surrounded her, the penthouse, the expensive pajamas, the view of Boston Harbor spreading out like a promise or a threat. She dressed in the clothes Lena had left, jeans that had to be rolled at the ankles, a soft sweater that hung off one shoulder. Found her way to the study through hallways decorated with art that probably belonged in the MFA. Adrian stood at another window, dressed in dark slacks and a white shirt with sleeves rolled to his elbows. He didn't turn when she entered. "Close the door," he said. She did. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck, but alive." "Good." He turned then, and Alara sucked in a breath. In daylight, he was even more devastating. All sharp angles and controlled power with eyes that saw through flesh to bone. "We need to talk about what happens next." "Okay. Your ex, Michael Torrance, real estate developer, drives a BMW, has an apartment in Back Bay, and a history of noise complaints from neighbors. Arrested twice for assault, charges dropped both times, probably because his father golfs with the DA. Am I getting warmer?" Alara's mouth went dry. "How? I made calls. People answered." He moved to his desk, pulled out a folder, slid it across to her. "Everything I could dig up in 12 hours. It's not pretty." Alara opened the folder with shaking hands. Photos stared back at her. Michael leaving his building, Michael at a bar, Michael with other women. And beneath them, documents, police reports. Witness statements. A pattern emerging over 5 years of complaints that went nowhere. He's done this before, she whispered. Multiple times. You're just the most recent. Adrian's voice carried no inflection, but his eyes burned cold. The question is, what do you want me to do about it? Alara looked up. What are my options? 1. I make him disappear, completely, permanently. You never see him again, and neither does anyone else. It's clean, it's final, and it removes the problem. You mean kill him? I mean remove the problem, Adrian corrected. Semantics matter less than outcomes. And option 2? I destroy him legally. Use what's in that file plus resources I can access to build a case that even his father's golf buddies can't sweep away. He goes to prison, comes out registered, unemployable, and broken. Takes longer, messier, less certain, but legal. And option 3? Adrian smiled, thin and sharp as broken glass. You walk away. I give you money, new identity, set you up somewhere he'll never find you. You start over. He keeps living his life. You keep running. Alara's hands clenched on the folder. Those are all terrible options. Welcome to reality. It doesn't improve with familiarity. She stared down at Michael's face. Handsome, charming, the face that had smiled at her over candlelit dinners before it twisted into rage over imagined slights. The face that had kissed her and choked her sometimes within the same hour. If you kill him, she said slowly, does that make you a murderer or does it make you an executioner? Depends who you ask. The law says murderer. My conscience says the world doesn't miss men who strangle women. Your choice which voice you listen to. Alara met his eyes. What would you do? If I wasn't here, if this was just about you? He'd already be dead, Adrian said without hesitation. But it's not about me. It's about you. And you don't get to come back from that choice once it's made. So think carefully. She did. Thought about 2 years of walking on eggshells, about learning to measure her words, control her expressions, anticipate his moods, about becoming smaller and smaller, erasing herself piece by piece until she almost disappeared. About the moment his hands closed around her throat and she'd thought, finally, it's finally over. I don't want him dead, she said finally. I want him ruined. I want everyone to know what he is. I want his father and his golf buddies and every woman he might hurt next to know exactly what kind of monster smiles behind that charming face. Can you do that? Adrian's smile widened, predatory and satisfied. Absolutely, but it takes time, weeks, maybe months. You'll need to stay here, stay hidden. Can you do that? Do I have a choice? You always have a choice, that's the point. Alara looked around the study, leather-bound books, expensive scotch, windows overlooking an empire. A gilded cage, maybe, but better than the hell she'd escaped. Okay, she said, I'll stay. Good. Adrian moved to pour himself coffee from a carafe on his desk. Rules. You don't leave without Lena or me. You don't contact anyone from your old life. You don't use your phone, your credit cards, anything that leaves a digital trail. As far as the world knows, Alara Voss disappeared. Are we clear? Clear. Lena will help you settle in. There's a library, a gym, whatever you need. Consider this your sanctuary. Nothing gets in unless I allow it. He said it with such absolute certainty that Alara almost believed it. Almost forgot that Michael had connections too, had resources, had always found her before. But Adrian Cade wasn't like anyone she'd ever met. And maybe, just maybe, his monsters were bigger than Michael's. She was about to leave when Adrian spoke again. Alara. She turned. His expression had shifted, something almost vulnerable flickering behind the ice. The bruises on your throat. How bad did it get? Before you left. The question landed like a fist to the sternum. Alara's hand drifted unconsciously to her neck, fingers tracing the fading marks. Bad enough that I stopped fighting back, she said quietly. Bad enough that I started planning my funeral. Bad enough that when you caught me yesterday, part of me wished you'd just let me fall. Adrian's jaw clenched. For a moment she thought he might say something, offer comfort, platitudes, the kind of empty reassurance people give to make themselves feel better. Instead, he said, he's never touching you again. I stake my life on it. And somehow that was better than any comfort could have been. Alara nodded and left, closing the door behind her. In the study, Adrian stood alone staring at Michael Torrance's file. The man smiled up at him from glossy photo paper, confident, attractive, utterly unaware that his world was about to cave in. Adrian picked up his phone, sent a single text. "Accelerate the timeline. I want him bleeding by week's end." The response came back immediately. "Copy that." He poured another coffee, added a shot of scotch this time, and allowed himself a smile that would have made grown men weep. Michael Torrance had no idea what was coming. But he was about to learn, and Adrian was going to enjoy every single second of the lesson, because some people needed to be destroyed, and Adrian Cade had always excelled at destruction. 3 days passed in strange suspension. Alara existed in a liminal space, not quite prisoner, not quite guest. She woke in silk sheets, ate meals prepared by Lena, wandered through rooms filled with art and silence. Adrian appeared at irregular intervals, sometimes for meals, sometimes just to check in, always maintaining careful distance like she was a wild animal he didn't want to spook. She learned his rhythms. Coffee at 6 a.m. sharp, always black, always in the same cup. Phone calls conducted in languages she didn't speak. Russian, Mandarin, something that might have been Albanian. The way he stood at windows like a king surveying his domain, shoulders rigid with tension that never quite released. She learned Lena's history in fragments. Former Soviet military, widowed young, saved Adrian's life in Chechnya, though neither would elaborate. Fiercely protective in that specifically Eastern European way, all sharp edges and unexpected softness. And she learned about herself. Learned that given safety and food and space to breathe, her body remembered how to exist without constant vigilance. Learned that sleep came easier when you weren't listening for footsteps. Learned that anger, properly channeled, could be cleaner than fear. On the fourth morning, Adrian knocked on her door at 7 a.m. "Get dressed," he said when she answered, still half asleep. "Business casual, we have a meeting." "What kind of meeting?" "The kind that determines what happens to Michael Torrance. 30 minutes. Don't be late." He was gone before she could ask more questions. Alara dressed in clothes Lena had acquired. Somehow the right size now, somehow exactly her style despite never having discussed it. Black slacks, cream blouse, simple flats. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. The hollow-cheeked ghost had started filling out. The bruises had faded to shadows. She looked almost human again. Almost. Adrian waited in the study with a woman Alara had never seen before. Late 30s, sharp suit, sharper eyes, briefcase that probably cost more than a car. "Alara Voss," Adrian said. "Meet Sarah Chen, best prosecutor in Boston until she decided private sector paid better." "Sarah, this is Alara." Sarah extended a hand. Her grip was firm, assessing. "Adrian's filled me in on your situation. I've reviewed the preliminary file. I have questions." "Okay," Alara said, because what else could she say? They sat, Alara and Sarah on the sofa, Adrian in a chair positioned slightly behind them, silent and watchful. Sarah pulled out a legal pad, clicked a pen with mechanical precision. "I need you to walk me through the relationship," she said, "beginning to end. Every incident you can remember, dates if you have them, locations, witnesses. I know it's difficult, but detail matters. The more I have, the better case I can build." Alara's throat tightened. "All of it?" "All of it." So she talked. Started with the meet-cute at a gallery opening, Michael, charming and attentive, making her feel seen for the first time in years. The whirlwind courtship, the moment he'd first raised his voice, then immediately apologized with flowers and tears. How the episodes escalated. Verbal abuse morphing into pushing, pushing into grabbing, grabbing into hitting. Sarah took notes without comment, her expression neutral. Alara described the isolation, how Michael slowly cut her off from friends, from family, from anyone who might notice. How he controlled her money, her phone, her schedule. How he'd convinced her that no one else would want her, that she was lucky he put up with her, that everything was her fault. And finally, she described that last night. His hands closing around her throat. The world going gray. The certainty of death. Her voice broke several times. Sarah pushed a box of tissues across the table without interrupting. When Alara finally finished, the room felt smaller, heavier, like her words had weight, had mass, had filled the space with something toxic. Sarah set down her pen. "Thank you, I know that wasn't easy." "Can you use it?" Alara asked. "Is it enough?" For criminal charges? Difficult. Most of it falls outside statute of limitations, and it's your word against his. But for destroying his reputation, for building a civil case, for making sure everyone knows exactly what he is? Sarah smiled, cold and professional. Oh yes, I can work with this. How long? Depends how thorough you want me to be. Rush job, 2 weeks. Comprehensive demolition, 6 to 8 weeks. Alara looked at Adrian. He'd been silent throughout her confession, but his knuckles were white where they gripped the chair arms. Comprehensive, he said. His voice carried a quality that made Alara shiver. Not fear, but anticipation of violence deferred. I want him bleeding from every possible wound. Financial, professional, social. I want his name to be synonymous with predator. I want every door in this city slammed in his face. Sarah nodded like he'd ordered a sandwich. Understood. I'll need access to his records. Financial, phone, email. Can you arrange that? Already done. Check your secure server. Of course you did. Sarah stood, smoothed her skirt. Alara, you'll need to stay available. I may have follow-up questions as I build the case. And when we go public, you'll be the face of it. Are you prepared for that? Alara hadn't thought that far ahead. Being public meant being visible, meant Michael knowing exactly where she was. She'll be protected, Adrian said before Alara could answer. Whatever she needs, whoever needs to be involved, make it happen. Sarah's gaze flicked between them, calculating something Alara couldn't read. Understood. I'll be in touch. She left with the kind of efficiency that suggested she billed by the minute. Alara sat in the sudden silence, feeling scraped hollow. Adrian remained in his chair, watching her with those pale eyes that missed nothing. You didn't have to do that, she said finally. Relive all of it. Yes, I did, Alara said. You asked me what I wanted. I want him ruined. This is how that happens. And when he comes for you, because he will. Men like him don't accept loss gracefully. Then I guess it's good I have you. The words hung between them, acknowledgement of something neither had named yet, an arrangement that had started as rescue and shifted into something more complicated. Adrian stood, moved to the window. I've spent 15 years building walls, he said quietly, between myself and anything that could be used against me. No attachments, no vulnerabilities. It's the only way to survive in my world. And now? Alara asked. He turned to face her. Now I'm realizing walls keep things out, but they also keep things in. And I'm not sure I want to be trapped inside mine anymore. Alara's breath caught. This man, this dangerous, complicated man who'd caught her before she fell, was extending something she hadn't dared hope for. Trust. Maybe something more. She crossed the room slowly, stood close enough to see the faint scar through his eyebrow, the tension in his jaw, the way his pupils dilated slightly when she approached. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. How to trust someone again. How to let someone in after everything. Neither do I, Adrian said. I've never... He stopped, recalibrated. People aren't usually in my life long enough to matter. They're transactions, assets, problems to solve. But you're not any of those things. What am I? He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his fingers brushed her jaw, feather light, asking permission. You're someone I'm willing to burn my world down for, he said simply. And that terrifies me more than anything in my life ever has. Alara's heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. This was too fast, too intense, built on trauma and rescue, and all the worst foundations for anything real. But maybe real didn't matter as much as honest. And Adrian Cade was the most honest thing in her life right now. She leaned into his touch, let her eyes close, felt something inside her chest crack open. Not breaking, but blooming. I'm terrified too, she whispered. His other hand rose to cup her face, tilted her head back until she opened her eyes and met his gaze. Good, he said. Fear means you're paying attention, means you understand the stakes. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't soft. It was the kiss of two people who'd seen too much darkness and were trying to find light in the only way they knew how. Through honesty, through heat, through the desperate acknowledgement that they were both broken, and maybe that was okay. Alara's hands fisted in his shirt. Adrian's grip tightened in her hair. The kiss deepened, turned searching, turned into a question neither of them could answer with words. When they finally broke apart, Both breathless, Alara pressed her forehead against his chest. "This is a terrible idea," she said. "Absolutely," Adrian agreed. His arms circled her waist, held her like she might disappear. "The worst. We should probably stop." "Probably." Neither of them moved. The moment stretched, fragile and fierce and fundamentally honest. Then Adrian's phone buzzed. He tensed, released her, checked the screen. His expression went cold. "What?" Alara asked. He turned the phone so she could see. A photo. Michael, leaving a police station, smiling at the cameras, surrounded by lawyers. The caption read, "Real estate developer Michael Torrance cleared in harassment case, no charges filed." "He filed a missing persons report on you," Adrian said, voice flat, then spun it as harassment. "Told police you were unstable, making false accusations, that he was the victim. Got ahead of Sarah's investigation." Alara's vision tunneled. "He's going to win. He always wins." "No." Adrian gripped her shoulders, forced her to look at him. "He doesn't. Not this time. This was just his opening move. Now I make mine." "What are you going to do?" Adrian's smile could have frozen blood. "I'm going to show Michael Torrance what happens when you play chess against someone who owns the board." He made a call. Spoke in rapid-fire instructions Alara couldn't follow. When he hung up, his expression had shifted into something that reminded her exactly who and what he was. Not a savior, a weapon. "Pack a bag," he said. "We're moving you somewhere even I don't know. Complete blackout. Sarah will continue building the case, but you stay invisible until we're ready to strike." "Adrian, this is how we win, Alara. He thinks he's hunting you. Instead, he's walking into a trap. But you have to trust me. Can you do that?" She looked into his winter eyes and saw fury and calculation and something that might have been fear, not for himself, but for her. "Yes," she said. "I trust you." "Then go. Lena's already packing. You have 10 minutes. Alara ran. Behind her, Adrian made another call, this one to a number very few people had. "It's me," he said when a gravelly voice answered. "I need a favor, the kind we don't talk about afterward." "Name it." "Michael Torrance. I want him to understand what it feels like to be hunted. I want him to know fear on a cellular level. I want him to spend every waking moment looking over his shoulder. Can you arrange that?" A pause. Then, "Consider it done. And make sure he knows it's coming from me. I want him to know exactly who's dismantling his life." "You're sure about this, Adrian? Once you start, there's no walking it back." Adrian looked at the photo on his phone. Michael's confident smile, his designer suit, his complete certainty that he'd won. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," he said. Then he hung up and went to prepare for war. Because Michael Torrance wanted to play predator. And Adrian Cade was about to teach him that some prey bite back, with teeth sharp enough to sever arteries. The safe house wasn't safe. Alara knew it the moment she stepped inside. A converted warehouse in South Boston, all exposed brick and industrial fixtures trying too hard to look bohemian. The kind of place that screamed hiding in plain sight to anyone who knew how to look. But Adrian had insisted. Lena had driven them there in silence, taking routes that doubled back and circled through neighborhoods until Alara lost all sense of direction. By the time they arrived, dawn was breaking gray and cold over the harbor. 2 weeks, Adrian had said at the door, not coming inside. Maybe 3. Stay off the windows. Lena checks in daily. No one else knows you're here. Where will you be? His jaw tightened, making sure Michael Torrance regrets every breath he's ever taken. Then he was gone, and Alara was alone except for the sound of her own heartbeat and the distant rumble of morning traffic. The first day crawled by like broken glass. She paced the loft, counted bricks in the wall, read the same page of a book 17 times without absorbing a word. Her phone, a new burner Adrian had provided, sat silent on the counter. No calls, no texts. No connection to the world she'd left behind. By nightfall, the walls were closing in. She stood at the window despite Adrian's warning, forehead pressed against cold glass, watching the street below. A couple walked past holding hands. A homeless man pushed a shopping cart. Normal life continuing without her, oblivious to the fact that somewhere in the city, 2 men were playing a game where she was the prize. Her hands shook. She shoved them in her pockets. The second day, Lena arrived with groceries and silence. Adrian? Alara asked. Busy. Lena unpacked food with mechanical efficiency, protein, vegetables, nothing that required thought to prepare. You eat. You rest. You do not worry. Easy for you to say. Lena's eyes flashed. You think this is easy? You think I enjoy watching Adrian walk into war because he cannot stand by while another woman suffers? You think I sleep well, knowing what he is doing, knowing he may not come back? Alara stepped back from the sudden venom. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask him to… No, you just let him catch you. Lena's voice softened, but only slightly. You are not first woman Adrian has tried to save, Malaya, but you are first one who made him forget to protect himself. This is dangerous, for him, for you, for everyone. What happened to the others? Alara asked quietly. Lena's expression shuddered. They did not survive what came after. Not because Adrian failed, because sometimes monsters win. Sometimes being right is not enough. Sometimes you lose everything and all you have left is rage and memory. She finished unpacking and left without another word. Alara stood in the kitchen, surrounded by food she couldn't taste, and silence that screamed and understood. Adrian wasn't just protecting her, he was exorcising ghosts. The third day, her burner phone rang. Unknown number. She stared at it, heart hammering, finger hovering over decline. It rang again. Again. She answered. Hello? Static. Then breathing, slow, deliberate, intimate. Alara? Michael's voice slid through the speaker like oil. There you are. Her blood turned to ice. How did you really think you could hide from me? Baby, I know everything. Where you've been, who you've been with. That penthouse overlooking the harbor, nice place. Must have cost your new boyfriend quite a bit. The room spun. Adrian had been so careful. Lena had been so careful. This wasn't possible. I have friends everywhere, Elle. Cops, judges, people who owe me favors. Did you think some gangster with delusions of grandeur could protect you? Did you think I'd just let you go? Stay away from me. Her voice came out strangled. Or what? You'll have your attack dog bite me? Please, Adrian Cade is a small-time thug playing dress-up. I've already filed restraining orders against him. Made sure everyone knows he's harassing me. Stalking me because of some fantasy vendetta. By the time I'm done, he'll be in prison, and you'll be back where you belong. I'll never come back to you. You will. Absolute certainty. The same tone he'd used when telling her no one else would want her, that she was lucky he put up with her shit, that everything was her fault. Because without me, you're nothing. You have no money, no job, no friends, nowhere to go. And when Cade realizes you're more trouble than you're worth, and he will, you'll come crawling back. They always do. Alara's hand tightened on the phone until her knuckles ached. You're wrong. Am I? Then why are you hiding? Why are you running? If you were so sure, so safe, you'd be out there living your life. But you're not. You're locked in some warehouse like a prisoner, waiting for your knight in expensive armor to save you. Except he won't. He can't. I've already won, Elle. You just don't know it yet. The line went dead. Alara stood frozen, phone still pressed to her ear, Michael's words echoing in her skull. He knew about the penthouse, about Adrian, about everything, which meant nowhere was safe. She called Lena. No answer. Called Adrian. Voicemail. Panic clawed up her throat. She grabbed her bag. Already packed, always packed, 2 years of training making her ready to run at a moment's notice, and headed for the door. Her hand was on the knob when it exploded inward. 3 men flooded into the loft. Ski masks, dark clothes, moving with professional efficiency. One grabbed her arm, yanked her back so hard something in her shoulder popped. She screamed, kicked, connected with a kneecap. He grunted, but didn't let go. Fucking hold her! Another voice, muffled by fabric. Hands closed around her other arm. Someone grabbed her hair, wrenched her head back. She bit down on the nearest thing, wrist probably, tasted leather and sweat. Someone swore. Michael said no marks, the first one hissed. Just get her in the van. They dragged her toward the door. She twisted, threw her weight backward, managed to hook her leg around the door frame. It bought her 3 seconds. A fist connected with her ribs, professional, precise, designed to empty lungs without leaving visible damage. Air left her body. Her leg released. They hauled her down the stairs. Her feet barely touched the ground. She tried to scream but couldn't draw breath. The world tilted, dimmed at the edges. A van waited in the alley, white, nondescript, panel doors already open. They threw her inside and she landed hard on metal flooring. Someone climbed in after her and the doors slammed shut. Darkness. Engine roaring to life. Movement. Alara curled into a ball, ribs screaming, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Michael had found her, had sent people, was taking her back to… No. The thought crystallized into rage. She'd run before, hidden, waited for rescue. And where had it gotten her? Trapped in another cage, dependent on another man's protection, still a victim. Fuck that. She forced her eyes open despite the pain. Adjusted to the darkness. Made out shapes. One man sitting across from her, silhouette backlit by dim light filtering through the windshield. He held something. Gun, probably. Her hand found her pocket. The burner phone was gone, dropped in the struggle, but her fingers closed around something else. The folding knife Lena had given her their second day in the penthouse. Small, sharp, easily concealed. Just in case, Lena had said. Men like Michael do not give up easy. Alara's fingers worked the blade open with practiced silence. 2 years of tiptoeing around a sleeping predator had taught her how to move without sound. The van hit a pothole. Everyone lurched. Alara lunged. She aimed for center mass, the way Lena had shown her in the penthouse gym during those strange, liminal days. Drove the blade up and in, felt it catch on fabric, slide through resistance that wasn't fabric. The man screamed. The driver swerved. Someone was shouting. Hands grabbed at her, but she twisted away, kept the knife, slashed wildly in the dark. Connected with something. Blood sprayed hot across her face. The van screeched to a stop. Doors flew open, rear and side. Light flooded in, blinding. Alara didn't wait. She threw herself toward the opening, hit pavement rolling, came up running. She made it 5 steps before someone tackled her from behind. They went down together in a tangle of limbs. Her head cracked against concrete. Stars exploded across her vision. The knife skittered away, clattering into darkness. Fucking bitch stabbed me! The man's weight crushed her into the ground. His hand found her throat, squeezed. Memory and reality collided. Michael's hands, Michael's voice, Michael's face above her as the world went gray. Something inside Alara snapped. She bucked, thrashed, fought with everything she had. Her hand found gravel, closed around a chunk of broken concrete the size of her fist. She swung blindly upward, connected. The grip on her throat released. She rolled, gasped air, swung again. The concrete chunk disintegrated against a ski mask. Blood poured. The man fell backward, clutching his face. Alara scrambled to her feet. The van idled 20 feet away, driver's door open, engine running. The other 2 men were on the ground, one clutching his stomach where she'd stabbed him, one trying to stand on a leg that bent wrong. She ran for the van, made it to the driver's seat, threw herself inside, slammed the door, hit the lock, grabbed the wheel. Someone hammered on the window. She ignored them, found the gas pedal, floored it. The van lurched forward. She heard shouting, then the crack of gunfire. The rear window exploded. Safety glass rained down but held. She didn't slow, didn't look back, just drove. Through red lights, down one-way streets, taking turns at random until the shouting faded and she was alone with her hammering heart and the taste of blood in her mouth. Only then did she pull over. In an alley behind a Chinese restaurant, surrounded by dumpsters and the smell of rotting vegetables, she killed the engine and fell apart. Shaking turned to sobbing. Sobbing turned to retching. She dry heaved over the center console, nothing in her stomach to expel, her ribs screaming with every convulsion. When it finally stopped, she sat in the driver's seat of a stolen van, covered in someone else's blood, and assessed the damage. Split knuckles. Road rash down one arm, bruised ribs, possibly cracked. Her shoulder still felt wrong. Dislocated, maybe, or separated. Every breath hurt. But she was alive. She'd fought back. And won. The realization hit like lightning, not triumph exactly, but recognition. She wasn't helpless, wasn't weak. The victim identity Michael had carved into her psyche was a lie. She could fight, could survive, could kill if necessary. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like clarity. She found her reflection in the rearview mirror, wild-eyed, blood spattered, hair matted with sweat, and God knew what else. She looked feral, dangerous. She looked like someone worth fearing. Her burner phone was gone, but the van had to have something. She searched the glove compartment, found a prepaid cell, dialed the only number she'd memorized. Adrian answered on the first ring. "Who is this?" "It's me." Her voice came out raw. "They found me, took me. I got away." Silence. Then, "Where are you?" "I don't know, some alley. There's a restaurant, Golden Dragon, maybe. I can see the sign. Adrian, they knew about the safe house. They knew everything." "Are you hurt?" "Yes. No, I don't know. I stabbed someone. Maybe more than one person. There was blood, and I drove the van, and..." The words tumbled out, panic finally catching up to adrenaline. "Elara, listen to me." His voice cut through the spiral, sharp, focused, grounding. "I'm going to find you. Stay in the van. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone except me. Do you understand?" "Yes." "How did they find you?" "Michael called. On the burner you gave me. He knew about your penthouse, about the safe house, about everything." She heard something crash on Adrian's end, a string of profanity in Russian. Then, "Someone talked. Someone in my organization gave him information. I'm going to find out who, and I'm going to kill them. But first, I'm getting you." "How long?" 20 minutes, maybe less. Stay on the line with me." So she did. Sat in a stolen van in an alley that smelled like garbage and failure, listening to Adrian breathe on the other end, listening to him issue orders to people she couldn't see, listening to the sound of her own heartbeat slowly returning to something approaching normal. 18 minutes later, headlights swept across the alley. Not Adrian's Mercedes. A different car, black SUV, windows tinted, the kind of vehicle that screamed money and muscle. The driver's door opened. Adrian emerged. No tailored coat now, just jeans and a black shirt, shoulder holster visible, gun riding his hip like it belonged there. His eyes found the van, found her in the driver's seat, and something in his expression cracked. He crossed the alley in 5 strides, tried the door. She unlocked it with shaking hands. Jesus Christ! He took in her appearance, blood, bruises, the wild look in her eyes. "How bad?" "I'm alive." "They're not." "Maybe. I don't know. I didn't stay to check." He reached in, fingers gentle on her jaw, turning her head to assess damage. "Can you walk?" "Yes." "Then we're leaving this van. My people will dispose of it. Come on." She let him help her out. Her legs wobbled but held. Adrian kept one hand on her elbow, steadying her as he guided her to the SUV. Lena sat in the back seat, medical kit already open. "Get us out of here," Adrian told the driver. A man Elara didn't recognize, stone-faced and silent. The engine purred to life. Lena's hands moved over Elara with professional efficiency, checking pupils, palpating ribs, testing her shoulder. She made small sounds of assessment, neither approval nor disapproval. Bruised ribs, possible AC joint separation in the shoulder, minor lacerations. Nothing life-threatening, but you will hurt for days. She started cleaning the blood off Elara's face with gauze soaked in something that stung. "You fought well, but next time aim for throat or eyes. Center mass is too risky, might hit bone." "There won't be a next time," Adrian said. His voice carried a quality Elara hadn't heard before. Something beyond rage, beyond control. Something that sounded like barely contained violence looking for direction. "There's always a next time," Elara said quietly. "Not with them. But Michael won't stop. He proved that today." Adrian turned to face her fully. In the dim light of the SUV's interior, his eyes looked black. "Michael Torrance is a dead man. He just doesn't know it yet." "You can't," Elara started. "I can. I will." He leaned forward. "Do you understand what happened today? Someone in my organization betrayed me, sold information about you to your ex. Put your life at risk for what? Money? Fear? Doesn't matter. The result is the same. You almost died because I wasn't thorough enough. That's not your fault." "It's entirely my fault." The words exploded out of him. The driver didn't even flinch, clearly used to Adrian's rages. "I brought you into my world, promised you protection, and I failed. Do you have any idea what that means? What I would have done if those men had succeeded? If I'd gotten to that alley and found you..." He stopped, Jaw clenched so hard, Elara heard teeth grinding. "But you didn't," she said. "I'm here. I'm alive. Because I fought back. You shouldn't have had to fight at all." He turned away, stared out the window at Boston sliding past. "This is what I do, Elara. I control situations, eliminate variables, make sure threats are neutralized before they become problems. And I miscalculated, assumed my reputation would be enough, that Michael would be smart enough to back off. I was wrong. So what now?" "What, now?" He looked back at her. "Now we go to war. Real war. Not this shadow game we've been playing. Sarah's legal approach is too slow, too dependent on systems that don't work for people like us. So we do this my way." "Which is?" "Overwhelming force, complete destruction. Michael wants to play Predator? Fine. I'll show him what Apex Predator actually looks like." Lena finished bandaging Elara's shoulder, packed away the medical kit. "Adrian, think carefully. You start this, you cannot stop. You know this." "I've already started. The moment I caught her in that grocery store, I started. This is just the escalation." The SUV pulled up to a building Elara didn't recognize. Older architecture, pre-war construction, the kind of place that had survived the Boston Blitz and urban renewal through sheer stubborn inertia. Adrian helped her out, kept his hand on the small of her back as they entered. Inside was a contradiction. Worn exterior hiding renovated guts. Elevator with modern security panel. Hallways with new cameras. The smell of fresh paint over old money. They took the elevator to the 5th floor. Adrian used a keycard on a nondescript door. Behind it, a war room. Maps covered one wall. Boston and surrounding areas marked with colored pins and annotations. Computer monitors displayed feeds from cameras positioned across the city. A table held files, photographs, documentation. Michael's entire life spread out like an autopsy. 3 people waited inside. 2 men, 1 woman, all dressed in dark, practical clothing. All turned when Adrian entered. "Out," he said. They left without question. Adrian closed the door, locked it, turned to face Elara. "This is where we've been tracking Michael. Every movement, every phone call, every person he's talked to in the last 2 weeks. We know where he sleeps, where he eats, where he fucks his secretary on lunch breaks. We know everything." He moved to the map, pointed to a location marked in red. "Tomorrow night, Michael has dinner plans. Expensive restaurant, private room, celebrating some real estate deal he's closing. He'll have his lawyer, his father, maybe a few other assholes who think money makes them untouchable. And I'm going to interrupt that dinner." "How?" "By presenting him with a choice. Walk away from you, publicly, permanently, legally. Or I release everything we've compiled on him, every illegal deal, every bribe, every woman he's hurt, everything. His career ends, his family disowns him, his life as he knows it is over." "He won't take that deal," Elara said. "His ego won't allow it." "I know." Adrian's smile could have frozen blood, which is why I'll be hoping he refuses, because then I get to destroy him without the pretense of mercy. Elara moved to the table, looked down at the documentation. Photos of Michael stared back at her, in his car, at his office, at a bar with his arm around a woman who wasn't her. Proof of infidelity, financial crimes, connections to people who operated in shadows. "This is everything I wanted," she said quietly. "Everything I asked you to do. So why does it feel wrong?" "Because violence always feels wrong to people who aren't used to it, but that doesn't make it unnecessary." Adrian came to stand beside her. "Look at these photos. Really look. These are the women he's been seeing since you left. 3 different women in 2 weeks. You think you're the only one he's hurt? You think he learned some lesson from you escaping? He's already moving on. Already finding new targets, already repeating the pattern." He was right. She could see it in the images, the way Michael's hand rested on one woman's lower back, possessive. The way he leaned in close to another, invading her space. The same tactics he'd used on Elara. The same playbook. "If I don't stop him," Adrian continued, "he hurts someone else. Then someone else. Then someone else. Until finally, someone doesn't escape. Someone dies. And I have to live with knowing I could have prevented it but chose legal channels instead. Chose civility over effectiveness. I won't make that mistake again." Elara's hands flattened on the table. "If you do this, if you destroy him the way you're planning, there's no coming back. You'll be what everyone says you are, what Michael's been telling people. a criminal, a monster. I'm already a monster, Alara. I've been a monster for 15 years. The only difference is who I point the teeth at. She turned to face him. His expression was open, honest in a way that made her chest ache. He wasn't trying to hide what he wasn't softening the edges, just offering her the truth, raw and ugly and unflinching. What happens after? She asked. After Michael's destroyed, after this is over, what happens to us? I don't know. The admission clearly cost him. I've never let anyone close enough to have an us. Never wanted to. Never thought I could. And now, he stepped closer, close enough that she could see his pulse hammering at his throat. Now I can't imagine a version of the future that doesn't have you in it, which is terrifying, which makes you a liability, which makes me weak. I don't want to make you weak. You don't have a choice. Just by existing, you've become something I can't afford to lose. Do you understand how dangerous that is? In my world, caring about someone is handing your enemies a loaded gun and hoping they don't pull the trigger. Then why do it? Why not just... She gestured vaguely at the war room, the maps, the evidence. Solve the Michael problem and send me away? New identity, new city, fresh start, no liability. Adrian's laugh was sharp and humorless. You think I haven't considered that? You think I haven't spent the last 2 weeks trying to convince myself that's the smart play? But every time I think about you leaving, about never seeing you again, something in my chest... He pressed a fist against his sternum. It breaks. Actually breaks. Like some vital piece is being ripped out. Alara's breath caught. Adrian, I'm not good at this, he interrupted. This talking about feelings shit. I run an empire built on fear and violence. I speak in threats and absolutes. But with you, I need to try. Because if I don't, if I let you walk away without being honest, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what might have happened if I'd just said the words. He took her face in his hands, gentle, despite the violence humming beneath his skin. I'm in love with you, he said. Raw, unfiltered. Have been since you looked up at me in that grocery store with eyes that had used up all their fear. You're the bravest person I've ever met, the strongest. And I know this is too fast, too intense, too fucking complicated, but it's the truth. And I'm done pretending otherwise. The world tilted. Alara gripped his wrists, not pulling away, just anchoring herself. You don't love me, she whispered. You love the idea of saving me, of fixing what Michael broke. But I'm not some project. I'm damaged, Adrian, fundamentally fucked up. I spent 2 years learning to be small, to be silent, to disappear. That doesn't just go away because you caught me before I hit the floor. I know. He rested his forehead against hers. I know you're damaged. So am I. We're both disasters pretending to be functional human beings, but maybe... His thumb traced her cheekbone. Maybe disasters recognize each other. Maybe that's the only honest foundation there is. Alara's eyes burned. This is insane. Completely. We barely know each other. I know you fight back. I know you don't give up. I know you stabbed a man today and stole a van and survived when most people would have folded. What else do I need to know? My favorite color, my middle name, what I wanted to be when I grew up, normal things, things that matter in normal relationships. We're not normal, Alara. We never will be, so why pretend? So why? Because pretending was safer. Because honesty led to vulnerability, and vulnerability led to pain. Because every instinct she had screamed that this was too much, too fast, built on trauma and proximity and circumstances that would evaporate once the danger passed. But she was so tired of listening to instincts that had failed her. So she kissed him. This time, there was no hesitation, no questioning, just the desperate acknowledgement that they were both broken, and maybe that was okay. Maybe broken pieces fit together in ways smooth edges never could. Adrian's arms circled her waist, pulled her flush against him. She felt his heart hammering against her chest, felt the tension in his muscles, felt the careful control he exercised to keep from crushing her against him. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Alara's ribs screamed protest. She winced. Fuck! Adrian's hands immediately gentled. Your ribs. I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking. Don't apologize. She caught his face, held his gaze. I'm tired of people handling me like I might break. I'm not glass. I won't shatter if you touch me. You're hurt. I'm healing. There's a difference. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. He'd been hurt too, had learned to function through pain, knew the difference between fragile and recovering. Okay, he said, but we're getting you checked properly. Hospital, x-rays, the works. Can't. Michael has connections. Hospitals keep records. Then I have a doctor who makes house calls and doesn't ask questions. Come on. He guided her toward the door, but Alara resisted. Wait, the dinner tomorrow, Michael's dinner. I want to be there. Adrian's expression darkened. Absolutely not. Why? Because it's dangerous? Because Michael might see me? I just fought off 3 men and drove a stolen van through Boston. I think I can handle sitting in a restaurant. It's not about what you can handle. It's about giving Michael a target. If he sees you, he'll escalate. Might do something stupid in public, might hurt someone. Good. The word came out cold. Let him escalate. Let him show everyone who he really is, because right now he's playing victim. Telling everyone you're harassing him, that I'm unstable, that he's the one being hunted. But if he sees me, if he confronts me in public, that mask comes off. Adrian studied her. You want to use yourself as bait. I want to stop hiding. I want to face him. Want him to see that I'm not afraid anymore. She straightened despite her protesting ribs. You said I'm the bravest person you've ever met. Prove you believe it. Let me do this. And if something goes wrong, then you're there, with whatever army you have on speed dial, but it won't go wrong. Because Michael's smart. He won't risk a public scene at his father's favorite restaurant. He'll retreat, regroup, maybe make mistakes. Either way, we win. Adrian's jaw worked. She could see the war happening behind his eyes. Protection versus respect. Control versus trust. 24 hours, he said finally. 24 hours of preparation. My people sweep the location. We have exits mapped, backup in place, every contingency planned, and you stay in my sight the entire time. Those are my terms. Done. He pulled out his phone, started making calls. Alara turned back to the war room, to the maps and photos and evidence of Michael's life spread out like a dissection. Tomorrow night, everything would change. One way or another, this ended. She just hoped they both survived it. The restaurant was called L'Etoile. 3 Michelin stars. Reservation list that stretched 6 months, the kind of place where judges and politicians brokered deals over wine that cost more than Alara's rent used to. Adrian's people had swept it twice. Cameras repositioned, exits confirmed, 2 armed guards placed in the bar area disguised as diners. Everything was ready. Everything except Alara's nerve. She stood in Adrian's penthouse bedroom, staring at her reflection. The dress Lena had selected hugged her frame, black silk, elegant, expensive. Hairstyled, makeup applied with enough skill to hide the worst of her bruises. She looked like someone who belonged at a place like L'Etoile. She felt like an imposter in her own skin. Second thoughts? Adrian's voice came from behind her. He leaned in the doorway, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than a car, looking like he'd stepped out of some dangerous fashion editorial. Fourth thoughts, maybe fifth. He crossed the room, stood behind her so they were both reflected in the mirror, dangerous and damaged, beautiful in the way broken things sometimes are. You don't have to do this, he said. I can handle Michael without you there. I know. But I need to do this. For me. I need to look him in the face and show him I'm not afraid anymore, even if I'm terrified. Fear and courage aren't opposites. Courage is being terrified and doing it anyway. Who told you that? Hallmark? He smiled. Rare. Genuine. Former Spetsnaz who saved my life in Moldova. Right before he died, taking a bullet meant for me. I think about that a lot. About how he was scared shitless but stepped in front anyway. About how the people worth saving are usually the ones willing to stand their ground when every instinct says run. Alara turned to face him. You've lost people. Everyone I've ever cared about, which is why I stopped caring. Stopped letting people close. Built walls so high and thick nothing could get through. Worked great for 15 years. He cupped her face. Then you fell, and I caught you, and every wall I'd built cracked straight down the middle. I'm sorry. Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me, even if it kills me. Don't joke about that. Who's joking? He kissed her forehead, then stepped back. Car's waiting. Last chance to change your mind. Let's go. The drive to L'Etoile took 20 minutes through downtown traffic. Adrian's driver, different from the night before, all of them were different, an endless supply of stone-faced men who took orders without question, navigated with silent efficiency. Alara's hands trembled in her lap. Adrian noticed, covered them with his own. Breathing, he reminded her. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8, keeps the panic at bay. She followed his instruction. Felt her heart rate slow fractionally. How do you do this? She asked. Walk into situations where everything could explode and just stay calm? Practice. Repetition. Years of exposure therapy disguised as organized crime. He smiled without humor. Also, I've made peace with the idea of dying. Once you accept that you might not walk out, everything gets easier. That's the most depressing thing I've ever heard. Welcome to my world. The car pulled up to L'Etoile's entrance. Understated elegance, valet parking, men in tuxedos holding doors. Adrian helped Alara out, kept his hand on the small of her back as they entered. Inside was hushed luxury, dim lighting, pristine linens, soft classical music that probably cost extra. The maitre d' recognized Adrian immediately. His expression shifted from professional courtesy to something approaching fear. Mr. Cade, we weren't expecting private room, away from windows, and ensure the Torrance party's reservation is honored. I'd hate for there to be any confusion. The maitre d' paled. Of course. Right this way. They were led to a corner booth with sightlines to the entrance and the private dining room where Michael would be. Perfect positioning. Adrian had clearly called ahead, made arrangements, probably threatened someone. They ordered without looking at menus, Adrian handling it like he'd done this 1,000 times, which he probably had. Alara barely heard the words. Her entire focus had narrowed to the restaurant entrance. 7:45 p.m. Michael's reservation was for 8. Adrian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, showed Alara the screen. Target en route. ET. A 3 minutes. Her breathing stuttered. Hey! Adrian's voice cut through the panic. Look at me, Alara. She did. You're in control. Not him. You decide how this plays. If it's too much, we leave. You say the word, we're gone. Understand? She nodded, not trusting her voice. 2 minutes later, Michael walked through the door. He looked exactly the same. Tailored suit, confident stride, handsome face arranged in an expression of casual entitlement. His father walked beside him, older version of the same arrogance. Behind them, the lawyer Adrian had mentioned, a few other men in expensive suits. They moved past Adrian and Alara's booth without noticing. The maitre d' ushered them toward the private room. Michael laughed at something his father said. The sound scraped against Alara's spine like nails. Then he turned, scanning the restaurant with the paranoia of someone who knew he was being hunted. His eyes found Alara. Time crystallized. Everything slowed. The way his expression shifted from confident to shocked to enraged in the space of 2 seconds. The way his hand tightened on his father's arm. The way his mouth opened to say something. Alara held his gaze. Didn't look away. Didn't hide. She lifted her wine glass in a mock toast, smiled. Michael's face went purple. He took a step toward their booth. His father grabbed his arm, said something sharp. The lawyer positioned himself between Michael and Alara's line of sight. Adrian sat perfectly still beside her, but she felt the tension radiating off him like heat. Ready to move, ready to act, waiting for Michael to give him a reason. Michael's father was pulling him away now, toward the private room, speaking in urgent low tones. But Michael kept looking back, kept staring at Alara with an expression she recognized, rage mixed with disbelief, mixed with possessive fury. How dare you? How dare you leave me? How dare you be here, looking healthy and whole and free? The private room door closed. Michael disappeared from view. Alara's hand shook as she set down her wine glass. Adrenaline flooded her system, fight or flight screaming at her to run. She didn't run. You did it, Adrian said quietly. You looked him in the face and didn't break. I want to throw up. That's normal. Comes after every major confrontation. Breathing. Remember breathing. She breathed. In for 4. Hold for 7. Out for 8. Slowly the world stopped spinning. What now? She asked. Now we wait. See how he responds. They didn't have to wait long. 5 minutes later, Michael emerged from the private room, alone, moving with purpose toward their booth. Adrian's hand disappeared beneath the table, probably to his gun. Michael stopped 3 feet away, just outside lunging distance. His eyes never left Alara. "You have 10 seconds to walk away," Adrian said, voice flat, dangerous. "After that, I hurt you in ways that don't show." Michael ignored him. "Alara, baby, we need to talk." "We don't." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "We have nothing to say to each other." "The hell we don't. You disappeared, ghosted me, had this—" He gestured at Adrian with barely contained contempt. "This thug stalking me, threatening me. What was I supposed to think?" "You were supposed to think about the bruises you left on my throat, the times you hit me, the times you made me so afraid I stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped existing except as your personal punching bag. That's not—" Michael's expression shifted. "Baby, you know I never meant to hurt you. You push me, make me crazy. If you just listened, if you just—" "Blamed myself?" Alara's laugh was sharp and ugly. "Yeah, I did that. For 2 years I blamed myself. Thought if I could just be better, quieter, more perfect, you'd stop. But you wouldn't have stopped. Because it was never about me. It was about you, about control, about power." 5 seconds, Adrian said. Michael's attention snapped to him. "Stay out of this. This is between me and my girlfriend." "Ex-girlfriend," Alara corrected. "I left you, Michael. It's over." "It's not over until I say it's over." His voice rose, drawing attention from nearby tables. His father appeared in the doorway of the private room, looking alarmed. "You don't get to just leave. Don't get to run into the arms of some criminal and pretend you're the victim here. I gave you everything, and this is how you repay me?" "Time's up." Adrian stood. His movement was fluid, controlled, but carried enough threat that Michael stumbled backward. 2 of Adrian's people materialized from the bar area, the diners who'd been waiting. They positioned themselves on either side of Michael. "You're leaving," Adrian said. "Now. Through the front door. And you're going to forget you saw Alara. Forget she exists. Because if you come near her again, if you contact her, if you so much as think about her too loudly, I will end you. Not quickly, not cleanly, but permanently. Do you understand me?" Michael's face cycled through rage, fear, calculation. "You can't threaten me. I have lawyers, connections, people who work for me." Adrian smiled. "Did you think I've been idle? Did you think I've been watching you for 2 weeks without learning every single weakness, every pressure point, every person you've bought or blackmailed into loyalty? Your father's business is leveraged to the point of collapse. Your lawyer has a gambling problem I now own. Your connections are either mine or will be by morning. You have nothing, Michael. You just don't know it yet. You're bluffing." Adrian pulled out his phone, pulled up a photo, showed it to Michael. Alara couldn't see the screen, but she saw Michael's face drain of color. "That's your father," Adrian said conversationally, "meeting with representatives of 3 different organizations I have influence with, discussing loan restructuring, begging. Actually, it was pathetic. He signed papers this afternoon. Papers that give me controlling interest in Torrance properties if certain conditions aren't met. Conditions I control." He pocketed his phone. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away. Tonight, you're going to go home and think very carefully about your choices. Tomorrow, you're going to receive documents from my lawyers. You're going to sign them. They're restraining orders, non-contact agreements, and confessions to enough financial crimes to put you away for 5 to 7 if you ever break those agreements. And you're going to do all this quietly, because if you fight me, I release everything, every dirty deal, every bribe, every woman you've hurt, all of it. Your life ends. Am I making myself clear?" Michael's hands clenched into fists. For a moment, Alara thought he might take a swing. Adrian probably hoped he would. Instead, Michael turned to Alara. "This is your fault," he said. "All of this. You did this." "Yes," Alara agreed. "I finally did something right." The words hit harder than any slap could have. Michael's expression crumpled, not into sadness, but into rage so pure it was almost childlike. The rage of a bully who'd finally met someone bigger. "You'll regret this," he said. "Both of you. You think I'm going to just roll over, sign your papers, and disappear? I have friends too. People who don't give a fuck about your reputation or your threats, and they're going to. The private room door burst open. Michael's father stormed out, followed by men in suits who looked like federal agents because they were federal agents. Michael Torrance, one of them said, producing a badge. You're under arrest for. The rest got lost in chaos. Michael tried to run. The agents grabbed him. He struggled, shouting, drawing every eye in the restaurant. His father tried to intervene, got pushed aside. Someone's wine glass shattered. A woman screamed. Through it all, Adrian stood perfectly still, watching with the detached interest of someone observing their plan unfold exactly as designed. What did you do? Ilara whispered. Accelerated Sarah's timeline. The federal case she was building? I handed them enough evidence to arrest him tonight instead of next month. Those agents have been waiting outside since we arrived. You planned this. I planned for every contingency. This was the optimal outcome. Michael arrested publicly, his reputation destroyed, his father unable to protect him. Clean, legal, no blowback on you. You used me as bait. I gave you what you asked for. You wanted to face him, wanted him to see you weren't afraid. Mission accomplished. Michael was being dragged toward the exit now, handcuffs glinting, still shouting. His father followed, lawyer scrambling, the entire dinner party dissolved into chaos. Adrian's hand found Ilara's. Time to leave. They slipped out a side entrance. Adrian had probably scouted it days ago. The car waited in the alley. They were inside and moving before anyone could follow. Ilara sat in silence, processing. It was over. Actually over. Michael arrested, charged, facing real consequences. She'd won. So why did she feel hollow? Talk to me, Adrian said. I should feel relieved, victorious, something, but I just... She stared out the window. Doesn't feel real. Like any second I'll wake up, and he'll be standing over me, and this was all just a dream. It's real. And he's not waking you up, not ever again. You're sure? Because Michael's good at wriggling out of consequences. Good at making things disappear. Not this time. Federal charges, multiple witnesses, evidence that's ironclad. Even his father can't buy his way out of this. He's done. The finality in Adrian's voice should have been comforting. Instead, it raised a different question. What happens to us now? Ilara asked. The threat's gone. The reason you had to protect me doesn't exist anymore. So what? I just go back to my life? Pretend the last 3 weeks didn't happen? Adrian's jaw tightened. Is that what you want? I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am without fear. I've been running for so long I don't remember how to stand still. Then learn, here, with me. Adrian, I'm not letting you go. The words came out fierce. I know you're still processing. Know you need time to figure out who you are outside of survival mode. But I can't. He stopped, recalibrated. Stay, please, stay and figure it out while being here. Let me be here while you heal. You don't have to decide anything else. Just stay. Ilara looked at him, this dangerous, complicated man who'd caught her before she fell and refused to put her down, who destroyed her abuser not with fists, but with strategy, who'd given her exactly what she asked for, even when it put him at risk. Okay, she said. I'll stay. The relief that crossed his face was almost painful to witness. They drove back to the penthouse in silence. Inside, Lena had left dinner warming in the oven and disappeared into whatever private space she occupied. Ilara and Adrian ate without speaking, both processing the night's events. After they stood at the windows overlooking the harbor, the city glittered below, oblivious, uncaring, moving forward like it always did. Michael's going to prison, Ilara said, and I'm standing in a penthouse with a man I've known less than a month, She stopped. Who you what? She turned to face him. Who I think I might love, which is insane, which is too fast and too complicated and probably unhealthy and definitely not the kind of thing therapists recommend for trauma recovery. Adrian's expression softened, just fractionally, but enough. Probably not. But I don't care. I'm tired of doing things the right way, the safe way, the way I'm supposed to. I'm tired of being afraid. So yes, I'll stay. I'll figure out who I am, and maybe... She stepped closer. Maybe I'll figure it out with you. He kissed her. Slow this time, gentle, like they had all the time in the world. They didn't, of course. Time was never guaranteed, but in that moment, standing in a penthouse overlooking a city that had tried to break her, Alara let herself believe in the possibility of a future. Let herself believe she'd survived, and that survival was just the beginning. Okay. Later, curled in Adrian's bed with his arm around her waist, and the sound of his breathing deep and even behind her, Alara's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, almost deleted it without looking, but something made her open it. A photo. Dark, grainy, taken from a distance. It showed her and Adrian leaving L'Etoile. Beneath it, a message. Michael was the warning. Now comes the real punishment. See you soon, Alara. Her blood turned to ice. This wasn't from Michael. The number, the tone, the threat. This was someone else. Someone who knew where she'd been tonight. Someone who was coming. She sat up, heart hammering, staring at the phone like it might bite her. Adrian stirred. What's wrong? She showed him the message. His expression went from sleepy to lethal in under a second. Dorian, he breathed. Who? But Adrian was already moving, already grabbing his phone, already making calls in that rapid-fire way that meant crisis. And Alara understood with sinking certainty Michael had never been the real threat. He'd been the opening move, and the actual game had just begun. If you or someone you know is having a difficult time, free support is available. Find resources. Adrian's voice cut through the penthouse like a blade. Lock it down. Everything. Now. He paced the living room, phone pressed to his ear, every muscle coiled tight. Alara watched from the sofa, still holding her own phone, the threatening message burning into her retinas, even though she'd closed the screen. Michael was the warning. Now comes the real punishment. Who's Dorian? She asked when Adrian ended the call. He didn't answer immediately, just stood at the window, staring out at the city like he could find answers in the glittering lights. His jaw worked, grinding teeth, processing something that clearly terrified him more than Michael ever had. Adrian, who is he? Someone I should have killed 5 years ago. He turned to face her. The expression on his face made her stomach drop. Dorian Vierik, human trafficker. Runs girls from Eastern Europe into the U.S., sells them to the highest bidder. I shut down his operation in 2021, burned his warehouses, freed 37 women, sent most of his lieutenants to prison or the morgue. Thought I'd destroyed him completely. But you didn't. I got sloppy. Let him slip away because I was focused on the victims, on getting them to safety. By the time I circled back, he disappeared, went underground. I've had people looking for him ever since. Adrian's hands clenched into fists. And now he's here, in Boston, watching us. Alara's throat tightened. Because of me? Because of me. Because I made you visible. Because I dragged you into my world without thinking about who might use you as leverage. Because I... He stopped, turned away. Fuck. I did exactly what I swore I'd never do. Made you a target. You didn't know he was still active. I should have assumed. In my business, you don't get second chances unless you're planning a comeback. And Dorian, he's patient, smart, the kind of enemy who waits years for the perfect moment to strike. Lena emerged from the hallway, dressed in black tactical gear that looked like it had seen serious use. She carried a rifle case. Perimeter is secure, she said in her clipped accent. I have 6 men on rotation, cameras monitoring all approaches. But Adrian, if Dorian knows she is here, this location is compromised. I know. Adrian scrubbed a hand over his face. How long until we can move her? 20 minutes. I have a location ready. Off-grid. No digital footprint. Even Dorian cannot find it. Do it. Alara stood. Wait, just wait. You're talking about me like I'm not here, like I'm some package to be shipped around. I need to understand what's happening. Who is this person? What does he want? Adrian crossed to her, gripped her shoulders. What he wants is to hurt me, to take everything I care about and destroy it in front of me, to prove that I can't protect what's mine. That's how men like Dorian operate. They don't come at you directly. They target what you love and make you watch it die. The words landed like physical blows. So I'm bait again. No, you're... He struggled for the right word. You're the thing I can't afford to lose, which makes you the perfect weapon to use against me. And Dorian knows it. That message wasn't random. He timed it for after Michael's arrest, after you'd think you were safe. Maximum psychological impact. Alara's mind raced. 3 weeks ago, she'd been alone, invisible, running from one abuser with nowhere to go. Now she was caught between multiple threats: Michael in federal custody, but Dorian emerging from shadows, and Adrian trying to protect her while simultaneously making her more vulnerable just by association. What if I left? The question escaped before she could stop it. What if I just disappeared? New identity, new city, like you said before. If I'm not here, Dorian has no leverage. Adrian's grip tightened fractionally. He'd find you. I'd find you. You don't disappear from people like us. You just delay the inevitable. Then what do? We fight. Simple. Final. Dorian wants a war. I'll give him one. But you stay protected, hidden, until I can eliminate the threat. How long? However long it takes. Lena cleared her throat. Adrian, we need to move. Now. My sources indicate Dorian has been in the city for 3 days. He has resources, people. If he wanted to act tonight, we would already be under attack, but he will not wait forever. Adrian released Alara, stepped back. Pack light, 5 minutes. Anything you can't live without, bring it. Everything else stays. Alara didn't argue, just moved to the bedroom, grabbed the small bag she'd been living out of for weeks. It contained almost nothing: a few changes of clothes, toiletries, the knife Lena had given her. No photos, no mementos, nothing connecting her to a life she barely recognized anymore. She was dressed and ready in 4 minutes. Lena led them through the penthouse to a service elevator Alara hadn't known existed. It descended into the parking garage where an armored SUV waited, different from before, windows bulletproof, license plates probably untraceable. 2 men stood guard. They nodded at Adrian, kept their hands near their weapons, swept the garage with professional paranoia. Where are we going? Alara asked as they climbed into the back seat. Somewhere Dorian can't follow, Adrian said. A place I've kept off the books since I started this life. No records, no witnesses, no way to trace it back to me. You'll be safe there. Will you be there? His hesitation told her everything. I need to handle Dorian, he said carefully, which means going places you can't follow, doing things you shouldn't see. It's better if if I'm locked away while you fight my battles for me? Anger spiked through her fear. I'm tired of being protected, Adrian. Tired of being the weakness everyone exploits. Let me help. You can't help with this. Why? Because I'm not a killer? Because I don't have your training, your resources, your connections? I stabbed a man last week. Drove a stolen van through downtown Boston. I'm not helpless. I know you're not helpless. His voice carried unexpected gentleness. But Dorian isn't Michael. Michael was a coward who hurt women because it made him feel powerful. Dorian is a professional. He's been trafficking human beings for 15 years. He's survived 3 different international task forces trying to take him down. He doesn't make mistakes, doesn't leave openings, and he sure as hell doesn't hesitate to kill anyone in his way. Then teach me. Give me a gun. Show me how to use it. Let me be something other than a liability. There's no time. Then make time! The words exploded out of her. Because I can't do this again. Can't sit in another safe house waiting for someone to decide my fate. Can't be the damsel locked in the tower while everyone else fights. I need agency, Adrian. I need to matter. The SUV fell silent except for the engine's hum and the sound of tires on pavement. Adrian stared at her, really stared, like he was seeing her for the first time. Then he turned to Lena. The safe house. Does it have a range? Lena's eyebrows rose. You cannot be serious. Does it have a range? Yes. Underground, soundproofed, fully stocked. She shook her head. But Adrian, she is not ready. Teaching someone to shoot takes weeks, months. And against someone like Dorian, I'm not training her to fight Dorian. I'm training her to survive if everything goes to shit, and I'm not there to protect her. He looked back at Alara. You want agency? Fine, but understand what you're asking for. Once you learn this, once you cross that line, you can't go back. Pulling a trigger in practice is different from pulling it when someone's trying to kill you. It changes you, permanently. I'm already changed, Alara said quietly. The woman who let Michael hurt her for 2 years is dead. I killed her the day I ran. The question is, who do I become instead? Adrian held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but we do this my way, my rules. And if I say you're not ready, you listen. Deal? Deal. The safe house turned out to be a converted military bunker an hour outside Boston. Concrete and steel buried beneath what looked like an abandoned industrial park. Lena drove them through a maze of fencing and overgrown lots before stopping at a loading dock that had seen better decades. Inside was a different world. The entrance looked derelict, but past the rusted door lay clean corridors, functional lighting, rooms stocked with enough supplies for a long siege. Adrian had clearly been preparing for worst-case scenarios long before Alara entered his life. Kitchen, medical bay, armory, living quarters, Lena indicated as they walked. Everything you need to survive for months if necessary. Water comes from a well, power from generators with enough fuel for a year, no internet, no phone service except satellite. She stopped at a reinforced door, pressed her palm against a scanner. It hissed open, revealing stairs descending into darkness. And below, she continued, the range. They descended into a cavernous space, 50 yards long, divided into shooting lanes by concrete barriers. Targets hung at various distances. The air smelled like gun oil and concrete dust. Adrian flipped switches. Fluorescent lights flickered to life. "Strip," he said. Alara blinked. "What?" "Your jacket. You're wearing too many layers. Makes it harder to feel proper stance and grip, down to a t-shirt." She shrugged off her jacket, her sweater, stood in just jeans and a thin cotton shirt. The bunker was cold. Goosebumps rose along her arms. Adrian moved to a gun safe, unlocked it with a combination Alara couldn't track. He returned with a handgun, smaller than the ones she'd seen on his people, matte black, utilitarian. "Glock 19, he said, 9mm, standard for a reason, reliable, relatively low recoil, easy to maintain. This is what you'll learn on." He handed it to her. She took it carefully, surprised by the weight. It felt heavier than she'd expected, dense with potential violence. "First rule," Adrian said, positioning himself behind her. "The gun is always loaded, even when it's not. You treat every weapon like it's chambered and ready to fire. Never point it at anything you're not willing to destroy. Understand?" "Yes." "Second rule, finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Keep it along the frame, like this." He adjusted her grip, his hands guiding hers. Dominant hand high on the grip, support hand wrapped around, thumbs forward. You're not trying to strangle it, but you need control. Too loose, and the recoil will tear it out of your hands. Alara focused on the feeling, cold metal against her palm, Adrian's body heat at her back, the weight of the weapon pulling her hands down. "Stance," Adrian continued. "Feet shoulder width, knees slightly bent, lean forward. You're not trying to look pretty. You're trying to absorb recoil and stay balanced. Power comes from your legs and core, not your arms." He adjusted her position, nudging her feet wider, pressing her hips forward, straightening her back. Professional, impersonal, the way a sculptor might adjust clay. Aim. You've got 3 points of reference: rear sight, front sight, target. Focus on the front sight. The rear and target will blur slightly, but your focus stays front. Line them up, put the front sight on target, squeeze the trigger. Squeeze, not pull. Pulling jerks the barrel. Squeezing maintains alignment. Slow, steady pressure. Let the shot surprise you. He loaded a magazine, showed her how it clicked into place, how to rack the slide to chamber a round. The mechanical sounds echoed in the concrete space. "Live fire now, when you're ready." Alara stared down the range at the paper target 30 feet away, a simple silhouette, human-shaped, marked with scoring rings. Her hands trembled slightly. "Breathe," Adrian reminded her. "In, out, pause at the bottom. Shoot in the pause." She breathed, found the pause, squeezed the trigger. The gun kicked in her hands. Not as bad as she'd feared, but enough to startle her. The shot went wide, punching a hole in the concrete wall 3 feet left of the target. "Again," Adrian said. "No judgment, no criticism. Adjust for anticipation. You flinched, expected the recoil and tensed up. Treat each shot like the first. Like you don't know what's coming." She fired again. Closer this time. Third shot actually hit the target, edge of the silhouette, barely scoring. "Good, keep going." She emptied the magazine. By the last shot, she was hitting center mass more often than not. Not accurate enough to matter in a real fight, but better than nothing. Adrian reloaded for her. Again, 15 more magazines. By the end, you should be grouping most shots within the center ring. They spent 3 hours on the range. Alara's hands ached. Her ears rang despite the hearing protection. Her shoulders burned from holding proper stance. But her groupings tightened. Muscle memory started forming. The gun stopped feeling foreign and started feeling like a tool. "Enough," Adrian finally said. "You're learning, but you're also getting tired. Tired shooters make fatal mistakes." Alara set the gun down, rolled her shoulders. Every muscle protested. "How'd I do?" "Better than expected. Most people can't hit a stationary target consistently until their 5th or 6th session. You managed it in 3 hours. Either you're a natural or you're stubborn enough to compensate for inexperience." "Probably the second one." He almost smiled. "Probably." Lena appeared at the top of the stairs. "Adrian, we have a problem." The warmth drained from his expression instantly. "What kind of problem?" "Marcus just called. Dorian made contact. He wants to meet." Adrian's hands clenched. "When?" "Tomorrow night, neutral location, just you and him. He says he wants to negotiate." "Negotiate what?" He did not specify, but Adrian... Lena descended the stairs, her face grave. "Marcus says Dorian has leverage, something he claims will make you agree to terms." "What leverage?" "He would not say over the phone, but he sounded..." She paused, choosing words carefully. "Afraid." Marcus does not scare easily. Adrian turned to the range, stared at the targets like they held answers. Alara could see his mind working, processing threats, calculating odds. "It's a trap," he said finally. "Has to be. Dorian doesn't negotiate. He dominates or he destroys. There's no middle ground with men like him." "Then you do not go," Lena said simply. "If I don't go, he escalates. Comes after Alara harder, faster. At least this way I can control the meeting parameters. Choose the location, set the terms." "You're walking into an ambush." "I've walked into worse." Alara stepped forward. "What if he has something? What if it's not a bluff?" Adrian looked at her. "Then I deal with it. But you stay here. No arguments. Lena keeps you locked down until I come back." "And if you don't come back?" The question hung in the cold air between them. "Then Lena gets you out of the country," Adrian said quietly. "New identity, offshore accounts, everything you need to disappear permanently. It's already arranged, has been since the night I brought you to the penthouse." Alara's chest tightened. "You've been planning for your own death." "I've been planning for every contingency. It's how I've survived this long." He crossed to her, cupped her face. "But I'm not planning to die tomorrow. I'm planning to end Dorian, permanently, and then..." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "And then maybe we figure out what comes after survival." She wanted to argue, wanted to demand he take her with him, that she be there, that she matter. But she'd asked for agency, and agency meant trusting Adrian to do what he did best. "Come back," she said instead. "Whatever it takes, just come back." "I will." He kissed her, deep, desperate, the kind of kiss that tasted like goodbye, even though neither of them said the word. Then he was gone, disappearing up the stairs with Lena, leaving Alara alone in a bunker with a loaded gun and the echoing memory of gunfire. She stood there for a long time, staring at the targets she'd riddled with holes, and wondered if she'd just sent Adrian to his death. Look, morning came gray and cold. Alara woke in an unfamiliar bed in the bunker's living quarters. Concrete walls, military-issue blankets, no windows to track the sun's progress. Her phone showed 7:42 a.m. Adrian had left 6 hours ago. No calls, no texts, no updates. She found Lena in the kitchen, drinking coffee black enough to strip paint, cleaning a disassembled rifle with practiced efficiency. "News?" Alara asked. "None. Meeting is set for 8 p.m. tonight. Adrian will contact me after. Until then..." Lena gestured at the rifle. "We wait." "I hate waiting." "Everyone hates waiting, but it is what we do between moments of violence. Wait, prepare, wait more. This is the life." Alara poured herself coffee, sat across from Lena. "How long have you known Adrian?" 15 years, since Chechnya. Since I saved his life and he saved mine. Since we both decided the world was shit and we might as well profit from it while protecting what we could. And you've been waiting for him to die ever since." Lena's hand stilled on the rifle. Not waiting, expecting. There is difference. I do not want Adrian to die, but I am realist. Men who build empires on violence rarely retire peacefully. They burn out or get burned down. Adrian, she resumed her cleaning. Adrian has been burning for a long time. You are just first person who made him want to stop. That's a lot of pressure. Yes, but also gift. To be someone's reason to survive instead of someone's excuse to destroy. Not many people get to be that. Alara sipped her coffee, let the bitter heat ground her. Do you think he'll come back? I think Adrian is very good at staying alive, but Dorian is also good at killing, so, Lena shrugged. We wait, we see. And if Adrian does not return, I get you on a plane to somewhere Dorian will never find you. These are my orders. This is what I will do. And if I don't want to go? Then I sedate you and carry you, because Adrian would haunt me from grave if I let you stay and die for nothing. She looked up, eyes hard. You do not get to be martyr, Alara. You do not get to throw away life Adrian is fighting to protect. Understand? Alara understood. She spent the day in the bunker, pacing concrete hallways, reading books she couldn't focus on, practicing with the Glock until her hands cramped. Lena watched without comment, occasionally correcting her stance, but mostly leaving her alone with her spiraling thoughts. 6 p.m. came and went. 7. 7:30. At 7:45, Lena's phone rang. She answered in Russian, listened, her expression darkening with each word. When she hung up, her face was carefully neutral. Adrian is at the meeting location. Dorian arrived early with 6 men. This is not negotiation. This is show of force. Alara's stomach dropped. Can we do nothing. We wait. Adrian has his own backup positioned. If shooting starts, they engage. But we do not leave this bunker. We do not break protocol. These are orders. So they waited. 8 p.m., 8:15, 8:30. The silence stretched like wire, taut and ready to snap. At 8:47, Lena's phone rang again. She answered, listened. Her face went from neutral to stone. Da, poнимаю. My wyjeżdżam через 5 minut. She hung up, stood. Pack, now. We leave in 5 minutes. What happened? Adrian has been compromised. Dorian has him. We are extracting immediately. The world tilted. What do you mean he has him? What? No time for questions. Pack. Move. Now. Alara ran to her room, threw her few possessions into the bag, hands shaking so hard she could barely grip the zipper. Adrian captured. Adrian in Dorian's hands. Adrian. Lena appeared in the doorway. Car is warming. We have 90-second window before Dorian's people arrive. He knows about this location. How? Does not matter. Move. They ran through corridors upstairs, out into the night, where an SUV idled with engine running. Different driver, older, scarred, someone Alara had never seen. He didn't speak as they climbed in, just put the vehicle in gear and floored it. They were half a mile from the bunker when it exploded. The shockwave hit the SUV like a fist, sending it skidding sideways. The driver corrected with professional calm. In the rear view, flames reached for the sky, turning night orange. Dorian wanted us dead, Lena said flatly. Wanted to eliminate Adrian's support structure before executing him. We were 40 seconds from being in that bunker when it detonated. Who warned you? Marcus, right before Dorian's people killed him for making the call. Another name, another casualty. Another person dead because Adrian had tried to protect Alara. Where are we going? Alara asked through numb lips. Boston, to get Adrian back. How? You said Dorian has him, has people, has leverage. How do we... We improvise. Lena pulled out her phone, made a call. When someone answered, she spoke in rapid Russian, giving coordinates, issuing orders, her voice carrying command that brooked no argument. She hung up, turned to Alara. Adrian once told me that if anything happened to him, I should make sure you survived. Should get you away, keep you safe, honor his sacrifice. But I think... Her expression hardened. I think Adrian would rather die knowing we tried to save him than live with guilt of abandoning him. So we try. We get him back or we die trying. You understand? Alara understood. What do you need me to do? Stay alive, stay smart, and if shooting starts, use what Adrian taught you. They drove through the night toward Boston, toward whatever trap Dorian had set, toward the man Alara had promised to stay for. And Alara made a decision. She wasn't waiting anymore. She wasn't hiding. She was going to war. Guang. The meeting point was a warehouse in Southie, abandoned shipping facility on the waterfront, the kind of place where bodies could disappear into the harbor and no one would ask questions. Lena's contacts reported 6 heat signatures inside, one isolated in the center, probably Adrian. The others positioned around him in a perimeter. They parked 3 blocks away. Lena distributed weapons, handguns for Alara and herself, rifles for the 3 men who'd appeared from shadows to join them. Former military, Alara guessed from the way they moved. People who owed Adrian favors or feared what would happen if they didn't help. The plan, Lena said, unrolling a schematic of the warehouse, is simple. We create distraction at front entrance, noise, light, chaos. While Dorian's people respond, we go in through the water access on the east side, reach Adrian, extract, disappear before they realize what happened. And if it doesn't work, one of the men asked, then we fight our way out and hope we are better shots. Not exactly confidence-inspiring, but Alara's supposed plans rarely survived contact with reality. They moved through darkness toward the warehouse. The harbor smell intensified, salt and rot and industrial runoff. Waves lapped against concrete pilings. In the distance, ships' horns called to each other like lonely whales. The warehouse loomed against the night sky, 3 stories of corrugated metal and broken windows, graffiti covering every surface. The detritus of failed industry. Lena held up a fist. Everyone stopped. She pointed. 2 guards at the main entrance, visible through chain-link fencing. Professionals, alert, carrying serious weapons. Lena made hand signals. 2 of her men peeled off, circling toward the front. The distraction team. Lena, Alara, and the remaining operative moved along the waterline. Found the access point, a loading dock half submerged by high tide, metal door rusted but intact. The operative worked the lock with tools Alara couldn't identify. 30 seconds later, it clicked open. They entered into darkness thick enough to choke on. Lena produced a flashlight, kept the beam low, and pointed down. They moved through flooded corridors, water reaching mid-shin, their passage creating ripples that echoed in the enclosed space. Ahead, voices. Light spilling through cracks in a door. Lena killed her flashlight. They moved by feel, by memory, by instinct. The voices grew louder. Alara made out words now, English, accented, discussing something in tones that carried casual cruelty. Lena positioned them on either side of the door, held up 3 fingers. 2. 1. Gunfire erupted outside, the distraction team engaging. The voices beyond the door shouted, confused, moving toward the sound. Lena kicked the door open. They flooded into a cavernous space, shipping containers stacked haphazardly, work lights strung between them creating pools of illumination and shadow. In the center, tied to a chair under harsh fluorescent light, sat Adrian. He looked like hell. Face bloodied, one eye swollen shut, shirt torn and darkened with blood. But alive. Still alive. 3 men remained in the room. The others had responded to the gunfire outside. They turned at the interruption, reaching for weapons. Lena shot first. 2 quick bursts. 2 men fell. The third dove behind a container. Return fire sparked off metal, forcing them to scatter. Alara ran for Adrian, reached him, pulled out the knife Lena had given her weeks ago, started sawing at the zip ties binding his wrists. "Alara?" His voice came out rough, damaged. "What the fuck are you doing here?" "Saving you. Shut up." The zip tie parted. His hands were free. She moved to his ankles. More gunfire. Lena and her operative engaged the third guard in a running firefight between containers. Bullets punched through metal, ricocheted at lethal angles. Adrian grabbed Alara's wrist. "You need to leave. Now. This is a trap. Dorian's not here. He was never here. This whole thing was—" The words died as new footsteps echoed from the warehouse entrance. Heavy, measured, accompanied by the sound of someone clapping slowly. A figure emerged from shadows. Tall, broad-shouldered, face weathered by violence and years. He wore an expensive suit incongruous with the surroundings, his smile showing too many teeth. "Adrian Cade," the man said in heavily accented English. "I knew you could not resist. Knew you would come for the girl. Knew she would come for you. Predictable. Both of you. So predictable." Dorian Viereck had to be. He wasn't alone. Men emerged from behind containers, from shadowed corners, from positions they'd occupied the entire time. 10, 12. Too many. Lena's operative went down first, clean headshot, professional execution. Lena herself retreated behind a container, pinned down by overlapping fields of fire. Dorian walked forward leisurely, hands in pockets, utterly unconcerned by the violence surrounding him. You destroyed my business, Adrian, freed my merchandise, cost me millions in lost revenue. I have waited 5 years for this moment, 5 years planning perfect revenge. So kill me, Adrian spat. Get it over with. Oh no, death is too quick, too merciful. I want you to suffer. Want you to watch everything you care about burn, starting with her. He gestured. 2 of his men grabbed Alara before she could react, wrenched her away from Adrian, forced her to her knees. One pressed a gun to her temple. Please, Dorian said to Adrian, try to save her. Give me an excuse to have them pull trigger. I would enjoy watching hope die in your eyes. Adrian's face contorted, rage and fear and helpless fury. He tried to stand. Someone hit him from behind, drove him back to his knees. You see, Dorian continued conversationally, this is real power. Not money, not fear. Control. I control this moment. Control whether she lives or dies. Control your suffering, and there is nothing you can do about it. Alara's mind raced. The gun pressed cold against her skin. Her own weapon was tucked in the back of her waistband, unreachable with her arms pinned. Lena was pinned down. Adrian was beaten, helpless. They'd walked straight into a trap. And Dorian was right. There was nothing they could do. I'm going to give you a choice, Adrian, Dorian said. Simple choice. Binary. You work for me, use your resources, your connections, your empire to rebuild what you destroyed, or I kill her, slowly, painfully, while you watch, and then I kill everyone you've ever cared about. Lena, your lieutenants, everyone. Burn it all down and salt the earth. What do you say? Adrian's jaw clenched. Blood dripped from his split lip onto the concrete. He looked at Alara, really looked, and she saw everything in his eyes. Love and rage and impossible calculation. Don't, she said. Adrian, don't you dare. I'll do it, Adrian said. I'll work for you. Just let her go. No, Alara thrashed against her captors. You can't. He'll kill me anyway. Kill both of us. You know he will. Perhaps, Dorian agreed, but perhaps not. Perhaps I keep her alive as insurance, as motivation, as reminder of what happens when you betray me. Either way, he smiled. You belong to me now, Adrian Cade. Your empire is mine. Your resources are mine. You are mine. Agreed, Adrian said. The word came out broken. Dorian clapped his hands. Excellent. See how easy that was? All this posturing, all this violence, when simple negotiation achieves same result. Now, the explosion came from outside. Not the distraction team, something bigger. The warehouse shook. Men stumbled. In the confusion, Lena made her move. She came out of cover firing, not at Dorian's men, but at the lights. Bulbs shattered, plunging sections of the warehouse into darkness. The man holding the gun to Alara's temple turned toward the sound. She drove her elbow back into his solar plexus, felt air leave his lungs, twisted, grabbed his wrist, forced the gun away from her head the way Adrian had shown her during their abbreviated training. The gun went off. The shot went wide. She pulled her own weapon, brought it up, aimed at center mass the way Adrian had taught her. Squeezed the trigger. The kick surprised her even though she'd practiced. The man holding her jerked, fell. Someone screamed. Might have been her. Everything dissolved into chaos. Gunfire everywhere, muzzle flashes in darkness creating strobing nightmare illumination. People running, shooting, dying. Alara scrambled toward Adrian, found him in the dark. His hands found hers. Can you walk? She gasped. Can I breathe? He countered. Let's go. They ran, through containers, through shadows, through a warehouse that had become a war zone. Behind them, Dorian's voice roared orders. Ahead, an exit. Fire escape, metal stairs ascending toward roof access. They took the stairs 3 at a time. Adrian stumbled. Alara caught him, kept him moving. They burst onto the roof as the warehouse below erupted in sustained gunfire. The harbor spread before them. Dark water, distant lights, ships moving in the night. There. Adrian pointed at a fire escape on the building's far side. We can get down, reach the water, disappear. Not quite. The voice came from behind them. They turned. Dorian stood at the roof access, flanked by 4 men with rifles. Blood stained his expensive suit. His smile was gone, replaced by something cold and final. "You killed 7 of my people," he said. "I'm impressed, genuinely. But this ends now." His men raised their weapons. Alara's gun was empty. She'd counted the shots, knew she had nothing left. Adrian had no weapon at all. They were out of moves, out of options. "I'm sorry," Adrian said to her. "I'm so fucking sorry. I should have—" "Don't," Alara interrupted. She took his hand, laced their fingers together. "I chose this. Chose you. No apologies." Dorian raised his hand, preparing to give the order, and everything went white. Helicopters, 3 of them, descended from the night sky, spotlights blazing, turning the rooftop into day. Amplified voices boomed across the waterfront. "Federal agents, drop your weapons. You are surrounded." Dorian's face twisted. He spun toward his men. "Kill them! Kill them now!" But his men were already dropping their rifles, hands rising, recognizing the futility of fighting federal forces. Dorian himself pulled a pistol, aimed at Adrian. A single shot rang out. Dorian fell, clutching his shoulder. The pistol clattered across concrete. Figures in tactical gear swarmed the roof, FBI, from the markings on their vests. They secured Dorian's men, provided medical aid, spoke into radios coordinating the operation below. A woman approached Adrian and Alara, late 40s, gray suit, badge clipped to her belt. She looked exhausted and grimly satisfied. "Adrian Cade," she said. "Special Agent Sarah Chen sends her regards." Adrian stared. "Sarah orchestrated this?" "Sarah's been building a federal case against Vierik for 3 months. When she learned he'd surfaced in Boston, she contacted us. Offered to use you as bait if we could guarantee extraction. We've been monitoring this location for 6 hours." She gestured at the chaos around them. "You're welcome, by the way." "What happens now?" Alara asked. "Now?" The agent shrugged. "Dorian Vierik goes to federal prison for the rest of his life. You 2 give statements, and we all pretend this clusterfuck was planned instead of improvised." She looked at Adrian. "Sarah also said to tell you, you're even. Whatever debt you thought you owed her, it's paid. Don't contact her again." With that, she walked away to coordinate the arrest. Adrian and Alara stood on the roof, still holding hands, surrounded by federal agents and helicopter wash and the lingering smell of gunpowder. "Did we just—" Alara started. "Survive," Adrian finished. "Yeah, we did. I killed someone." The words came out flat. Shock, probably. "I shot him, and he fell, and You survived. He was trying to kill you. You defended yourself. That's all it was." "Will I go to jail?" "Self-defense. Federal witnesses." "You'll be fine. Legally, anyway." He turned to face her fully, cupped her face with battered hands. "The rest of it, living with what you had to do, that's harder. But I'll be there. Every step. You don't do this alone." Alara's legs gave out. She sat hard on the concrete, adrenaline crash hitting like a freight train. Adrian sat beside her, wrapped an arm around her shoulders, held her while she shook. Around them, agents processed the scene. Below, more agents cleared the warehouse. In the distance, sirens wailed. They'd won. Survived. Beaten both Michael and Dorian. So why did Alara feel empty? "What happens now?" she asked. "After statements, after everything, what do we do?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried unexpected weight. "We figure out who we are without enemies to fight. Without running, without hiding, without survival as the only goal. He stopped, started again. "We try to be normal, whatever that means. I don't know how to be normal. Neither do I. But maybe—" His grip tightened. "Maybe we learn together." Alara leaned into him, felt his heartbeat against her shoulder, steady and strong despite everything. They'd survived. But survival was just the beginning. The hard part, learning to live, still lay ahead. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice whispered, "This isn't over. It never is. There's always another threat, always another enemy, always another reason to keep fighting." Because that was the truth Adrian had taught her, whether he'd meant to or not. In their world, peace was just the pause between wars. And the next war was already coming. Dati. 3 days later, in a federal holding facility outside Boston, Ilara sat across from Sarah Chen in a sterile interrogation room. Your statement checks out, Sarah said, sliding a folder across the table. Self-defense, righteous shoot, federal corroboration. You're clear on all charges related to the warehouse incident. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank the fact that Dorian's operation was big enough that federal prosecutors don't care about the bodies you left behind. They got their collar. That's all that matters to them. Sarah leaned back, studied Ilara with sharp eyes. You've had quite a month. Abusive boyfriend, rescued by Boston's most dangerous criminal, caught in a war between traffickers, killed a man. How are you holding up? Ilara paused. I don't know. Ask me in 6 months. Fair enough. Sarah's expression softened fractionally. I worked with Adrian for years before I went legitimate. Helped him navigate legal complexities. Kept him one step ahead of federal prosecution. I know what he is, what he's done. And I know he doesn't save people unless they matter to him. So you must matter. Where are you going with this? Nowhere. Just be careful. Adrian Cade is not a good man. He's a useful one sometimes, a protective one when he chooses to be. But he's built his empire on violence and fear, and that doesn't just disappear because he fell in love. Eventually, that world catches up, and when it does, you need to decide if you're willing to burn with him or walk away. The words settled heavy in Ilara's chest. I think I've already decided, she said quietly. Then may you both survive it. Sarah stood, moved toward the door, paused with her hand on the handle. One more thing. Michael Torrance. Ilara's stomach dropped. What about him? He made bail 3 days ago. Federal charges are solid, but his father hired expensive lawyers. Trial won't start for months. Until then, he's out. Ankle monitor, travel restrictions, but out. The room tilted. He's free? Relatively. And Ilara, Sarah's expression turned grave. Before he made bail, he was interviewed by federal agents. They asked about you, about Adrian, about everything that happened, and Michael gave them a name. Someone he claimed orchestrated your kidnapping attempt. Someone who gave his people the safe house location. Blood pounded in Ilara's ears. Who? Sarah met her eyes. Lena Moroz. The world stopped. That's impossible. Lena saved us, fought beside us, nearly died. Michael claims Lena approached him months ago, offered to feed him information about Adrian's operations in exchange for money. Claims she's been playing both sides. That the kidnapping was meant to succeed, to get you away from Adrian so Lena could consolidate power. He's lying. He's lying, and you believe him? I don't know what to believe, but the feds are investigating. And Ilara? Sarah's voice dropped. Lena disappeared 6 hours ago. No one's seen her since the warehouse. Not Adrian's people, not federal surveillance. She's gone. The implication hung between them like a guillotine blade. Where's Adrian? Ilara demanded. That's the other problem. He left the federal facility 3 hours ago. Said he was going to find Lena. Verify the allegations. That was the last anyone heard from him. Ilara stood so fast her chair clattered backward. I need to find him. You need to stay here in protective custody until we sort out. But Ilara was already moving. Out the door, down the corridor, past startled federal agents. Someone shouted. She didn't stop. She had to find Adrian, had to warn him. Because if Lena really had betrayed them, if she'd been feeding information to Michael, if the last month had been a setup, if everything was a lie, then Adrian was walking into a trap. Again. And this time, Ilara might be too late to save him. She burst out of the federal building into cold morning air, scanned the street for any sign, any clue where Adrian might have gone. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Ilara. Lena's voice, tinny and distant. I know what Sarah told you. I know what you must think. But you must listen. Must understand. Everything I did. Where's Adrian? Silence. Then, he is coming for me. Coming to kill me for what he thinks I've done. But he does not understand. He cannot see the bigger picture. And if you do not stop him, he will walk into slaughter. What bigger picture? What are you talking about? Meet me. Alone. I will explain everything. I will show you the truth. And then you can decide if I am traitor or if I am only one trying to keep him alive. Where? Lena gave an address. Industrial district. The kind of place where conversations happened that couldn't happen anywhere else. 1 hour, Lena said. Come alone. Bring anyone, tell anyone, and Adrian dies. This I promise. The line went dead. Alara stood on a Boston street corner, phone in hand, every instinct screaming contradiction. Trust Lena. Don't trust Lena. Save Adrian. Save herself. Believe the woman who'd fought beside her. Believe the evidence suggesting betrayal. She had 1 hour to decide, and whatever she chose would determine if anyone survived the next 24 hours. The morning sun climbed higher, indifferent to human drama. Alara took a breath, made her choice, and started walking toward whatever truth waited in the shadows. Whether salvation or damnation, she was about to find out. The address Lena gave led to a meat processing plant on the edge of South Boston, one of those buildings that had been shuttered for a decade, left to rot while the city grew around it like scar tissue. Chain-link fencing sagged under rust and time. Windows were either boarded or shattered, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry and blood could be hosed away without anyone asking questions. Alara stood across the street, watching the building for signs of movement. Nothing. Just wind pushing trash across cracked pavement and the distant sound of traffic from the highway. Her hand found the Glock tucked into her waistband, loaded, safety off, ready. 3 days ago, she'd killed a man with a weapon just like this. The weight felt different now, familiar, like it belonged there. She'd left the federal facility without telling anyone where she was going. Stupid, probably. Definitely against Sarah's explicit instructions. But if Lena was telling the truth, if Adrian was walking into a trap, then involving federal agents would only accelerate whatever was coming. And if Lena was lying, then Alara was walking into her own execution. Either way, sitting in protective custody while Adrian died wasn't an option. She crossed the street, found a gap in the fencing, slipped through. The plant's main entrance hung open, door torn from hinges by vandals or time. Inside smelled like rust and decay, and something organic that had gone wrong years ago. Lena? Her voice echoed in the cavernous space. No response. She moved deeper, gun raised, every nerve firing. The main floor opened into what had once been the killing floor, hooks hanging from chains, gutters cut into concrete for blood drainage, metal tables corroded by decades of moisture. Thin light filtered through broken skylights, creating shifting patterns across the floor. A figure emerged from shadows at the far end. Lena. Dressed in dark tactical gear, rifle slung across her back, hands visible and empty. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, shoulders carrying weight that hadn't been there before. You came alone, Lena said. Not a question. Observation. Where's Adrian? Coming. Maybe 10 minutes behind you. I made sure he would find trail. Wanted him to feel in control. Men like Adrian need to believe they are hunting, not being led. You betrayed us. Alara's gun stayed level, aimed at center mass. Sold information to Michael. Set up the kidnapping. Everything Sarah said. Everything Sarah knows is what I allowed her to know. Lena took a step forward. Alara tensed. Put gun down, Malaya. If I wanted you dead, you would not have made it through the door. Give me one reason to trust you. Because I am only person who can keep Adrian alive through what is coming, and you love him enough to hear me out before you shoot. The words hit harder than they should have. Alara's grip tightened on the Glock, but she didn't lower it. Talk. Fast. Lena's side moved to one of the old metal tables, leaned against it. 5 years ago, when Adrian destroyed Dorian's trafficking network, he made enemy of more than just Dorian. He made enemy of entire organization. Dorian was middle management, brutal, effective, but replaceable. Above him are people who move billions in illegal commerce, people who do not forgive disruption. What does this have to do with, I am getting there? These people, they waited, watched, let Adrian think he had won, let Dorian take fall while they rebuilt in shadows. And then they approached me, 18 months ago, said they wanted Adrian eliminated, offered money I could not refuse, threatened people I care about if I did not cooperate. Alara's stomach churned. So you sold him out. I considered it. For maybe 3 days I considered. Then I realized, if I say no, they kill me and find someone else. Someone Adrian does not trust. Someone who will not see knife coming. But if I say yes, if I work with them, I can control flow of information. can feed them enough to keep them satisfied while warning Adrian about real threats. You've been double-crossing the people who hired you to kill Adrian. Triple-crossing, technically. I am also working with Sarah Chen to build federal case against the organization. Dorian's arrest was just first step. Real targets are higher up. The gun in Alar's hand felt heavier. Michael, the safe house location. How did he... I gave it to him. Lena's expression didn't change. I knew Adrian had backup ready. Knew you were strong enough to fight. Needed Michael to escalate, to do something stupid and public so Sarah could trigger federal arrest. Was calculated risk. A risk that almost got me killed. Yes. And I'm sorry. But Alara, you survived. You fought back. You proved you were not helpless victim. And Michael is now in federal custody facing serious charges. Outcome was exactly as planned. Except I had to stab someone, had to steal a van, had to... Alara's voice cracked. You used me as bait. Adrian used you as bait at L'Etoile. I just followed his example. Lena pushed off the table. This is the world we live in, the world Adrian chose when he built empire on violence. Everyone is tool. Everyone is asset. The only question is, are you tool that knows you are being used or tool that dies confused? Alara wanted to shoot her, wanted to pull the trigger and end this conversation and this woman who treated human lives like chess pieces. But she needed answers more than she needed revenge. Why tell me this? Why not just let me think you betrayed us? Because in approximately 7 minutes, Adrian will come through that door. He will see me. He will assume I am traitor. And he will try to kill me. And if he succeeds, if he puts bullet in my head before I can explain, then federal case collapses. The organization above Dorian continues operating, and Adrian becomes their next target. They will destroy him slowly, painfully, systematically. Everything he built, everyone he cares about, starting with you. So you need me to convince Adrian not to kill you. I need you to give me 30 seconds to explain before he shoots. That is all. 30 seconds. Footsteps echoed from the entrance. Both women turned. Adrian emerged from shadows like something conjured from nightmare. Face still bruised from Dorian's interrogation, shirt torn and blood-stained, gun in hand and murder in his eyes. He took in the scene in a single glance, Lena standing near the table, Alara holding a weapon, the distance between them. His gun swung toward Lena. Step away from her. Adrian, wait, Alara started. She sold us out, gave Michael the safe house location, fed information to Dorian. I've been tracking her communications for the last 6 hours. I know everything. You know what I allowed you to know, Lena said calmly. What I needed you to find so you would come here, so I could explain. Explain how you tried to get Alara killed, how you've been working against me for 18 months, how you betrayed every oath we made in Chechnya. I have betrayed no oaths. I saved your life then. I am trying to save it now, but you are too blinded by rage to see. Adrian's finger tightened on the trigger. Give me one reason I shouldn't end you right here. Because I am only person keeping the syndicate from putting contract on your head. Lena's voice remained steady despite the gun pointed at her skull. Because I have been feeding them false information while building federal case with Sarah Chen. Because everything I have done, every betrayal, every risk, has been to protect you from threats you cannot see. The syndicate. Adrian's expression flickered. You're talking about the Red Star Syndicate, the organization Dorian worked for. Worked for, past tense. They are unhappy about his arrest, about loss of trafficking revenue, about federal investigation that is now targeting their operations. And they blame you, want you punished, publicly, painfully. So you sold me out to save me? That's your story? Is the truth, whether you believe it or not. Lena's hands remained visible, non-threatening. I gave Syndicate enough information to keep them satisfied, gave Michael enough to force his hand, gave federal agents enough to build prosecutable case, and I kept you alive through all of it. Is not betrayal, is strategy. Adrian's gun didn't waver. And Alara? Was using her as bait part of your strategy? Yes. Because she is strong enough to survive it. Because she needed to prove to herself that she could fight. Because you would never have allowed it if I asked permission, and sometimes the right choice is the one people hate you for making. The words hung in the air between them. Truth and justification tangled so tightly they were indistinguishable. Alara stepped forward. Adrian, Put the gun down. She tried to get you killed. She took a calculated risk. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. Then change where you're standing. Alara moved between them, blocking Adrian's line of fire. Look at me. Look at me, Adrian. His eyes finally left Lena, focused on Alara. She saw rage there, and hurt, and the kind of betrayal that cut deeper than any physical wound. I'm alive, she said quietly. I'm here. Whatever Lena did, whatever risks she took, I survived them. We survived them. And if what she's saying is true, if there's a bigger threat coming, we need her. Or we shoot her and eliminate the person feeding information to our enemies. And then what? The syndicate sends someone else. Someone we don't know. Someone who won't give us 30 seconds to explain before they pull the trigger. Adrian's jaw clenched. His gun lowered an inch, then another. 30 seconds, he said to Lena. Explain why I shouldn't kill you. And it better be the most convincing 30 seconds of your life. Lena nodded. The syndicate has put out contract on you, $2 million for proof of death. $3 million if they can verify you suffered first. Every mercenary, hitman, and desperate criminal on the East Coast knows about it. They are coming, Adrian. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, and they will not stop until you are dead, or they are. How many? Estimates range from 15 to 30. Professionals mostly, some freelance, some organization affiliated, all motivated by money and the reputation boost of killing the great Adrian Cade. And you know this because I am one of People's Syndicate contacted to carry out the hit. They assumed I would jump at the chance for revenge after you betrayed me. Instead, I said yes and used the access to map their network. I have names, locations, operational timelines, everything Sarah needs to dismantle them. Adrian's eyes narrowed. If that's true, why not just give the information to Sarah? Why this elaborate setup? Because Sarah needs you alive to testify. Needs your knowledge of their operations, your documentation, your willingness to cooperate with federal prosecution. If you die, case falls apart. So I keep you alive long enough to matter. By lying to me, by putting Alara at risk, by making me think I was hunting you when you were orchestrating everything. Yes. No apology in her voice. Because you are a stubborn man who does not accept help, who thinks he must control everything, fix everything, protect everyone alone. I could not help you if you knew I was helping, so I worked in shadows, where I always work best. Silence filled the processing plant. Somewhere above, wind pushed through broken skylights, creating a low moan that sounded almost human. Adrian lowered his gun completely. Show me the proof. Everything you claim to have on the syndicate, right now. Lena reached slowly into her tactical vest, pulled out a tablet, powered it on. Everything is here. Names, photos, communications, financial transfers. I have been documenting for 18 months, waiting for right moment to act. She held out the tablet. Adrian took it, scrolled through files. His expression shifted, from suspicion to recognition to something approaching horror. This is... Jesus Christ, Lena. This is comprehensive. You have their entire command structure mapped out. Their money laundering operations, their trafficking routes. Everything. Yes. And if they knew I had it, I would already be dead. So would you. So would Alara. We would all be dead, and Syndicate would continue operating. But instead, I bring you here. I show you. I give you choice. What choice? Work with me. With Sarah. Take this information to federal authorities and burn Syndicate to ground. Or shoot me, destroy the evidence, and face 30 hitmen alone while trying to protect Alara. Your decision. Adrian stared at the tablet like it might explode. Then at Lena. Then at Alara. You trust her? He asked Alara. I don't know, Alara admitted. But I trust that she's kept you alive this long. And I trust that shooting her doesn't solve the bigger problem. The bigger problem being a criminal organization that wants me dead and will use you as leverage to make it hurt. Exactly. Adrian's hand scrubbed over his face. Fuck, this is... He looked at Lena. If you're lying, if any of this is a setup, I will kill you slowly, painfully, in ways that make Dorian's interrogation look gentle. Are we clear? Crystal. And you work for me. Not for Sarah. Not for federal authorities. For me. Everything you do, you clear with me first. No more calculated risks with Alara's life. No more triple-crossing operations without my knowledge. Transparency, or I put you in the ground. Agreed? Agreed. He extended his hand. Lena took it. They shook. Not friendly, not forgiving, but acknowledging the necessity of alliance. Now what? Alara asked. Now we... The gunshot came from nowhere and everywhere at once. The processing plant's far wall exploded inward, concrete and rebar erupting as something heavy punched through. Adrian grabbed Alara, threw them both behind a support column. Lena had her rifle up and firing in the direction of the breach before the dust settled. More gunshots. Multiple shooters, professional spacing, coordinated fire. The old processing plant became a war zone in seconds. "How many?" Adrian shouted over the chaos. 6? No, 8. I count 8. Lena ducked as return fire sparked off the column she'd taken cover behind. They must have followed you here. Or followed Alara. Adrian checked his weapon, nearly empty. We need to move. This position is indefensible. Where? Up, catwalks. We get elevation. We control the field. He looked at Alara. Can you climb? Can I breathe? Let's go. They ran, weaving between old equipment, using the facility's industrial bones for cover. Bullets punched through metal, sent sparks flying, ricocheted at angles that turned every shadow into potential death. Ahead, a ladder leading to maintenance catwalks 30 feet above the killing floor. Adrian went first, covering their ascent. Alara followed, hands slick with sweat, muscles screaming. Lena came last, firing controlled bursts to suppress their attackers. They reached the catwalk, metal grating that rang with every footstep, railings rusted to the point of uselessness. Below, 8 figures in tactical gear moved with professional coordination, sweeping the floor in a pattern designed to flush prey into kill zones. The Syndicate? Alara gasped. Probably, Adrian said, or opportunistic mercenaries who heard about the contract. Either way, they're here to collect. How do we fight 8 professionals with... Alara checked her gun. Half a magazine and whatever Lena's carrying? We don't fight them. We survive them. Big difference. Adrian pointed to the far end of the facility. There's a roof access on the west side. We reach it. We can get to the street, disappear before they regroup. They will cut us off, Lena said. She was attaching something to her rifle. A scope, maybe, or a laser sight. See how they move? They are trained, experienced. They know we will go for exits. We'll have people positioned. Then we make our own exit. Adrian scanned the ceiling, found what he was looking for. That skylight. The broken one. We shoot out the frame, climb through, cross the roof, drop on the far side. That is a terrible plan. You have a better one? No. But I want to note for the record, this is terrible plan. They moved along the catwalk, trying for stealth, but the metal grating betrayed every step. Below, the tactical team tracked them, weapons raised, waiting for clear shots. Contact left, Lena shouted. 3 of the team had found another ladder, were climbing fast. They'd reached the catwalk in seconds. Adrian fired. 2 shots, both headshots, both men falling. The third retreated, but the gunfire gave away their position. The remaining 5 opened up with everything they had. Bullets tore through the catwalk's metal grating, through railings, through air close enough to Alara's head that she felt the displacement. She fired back, not aiming, just shooting, trying to make them keep their heads down. The Glock kicked in her hands, empty before she realized she'd pulled the trigger that many times. I'm out, she shouted. Adrian tossed her his backup piece. Smaller, different weight, but loaded. Make them count. They reached the skylight. Adrian aimed upward, fired until his weapon clicked empty. The frame shattered, safety glass raining down, opening a path to the roof. Lena, boost! Lena crouched, made a stirrup with her hands. Adrian stepped into it, hauled himself up and through. His hand reached back down. Alara, now! She jumped, caught his hand. He pulled with desperate strength, dragging her through broken glass and twisted metal. Her shirt tore. Something cut her arm. Then she was through, rolling onto the roof's tar paper surface. Lena followed, more athletic, more practiced. She cleared the skylight in one smooth motion. Below, shouting. More gunfire. The tactical team would be climbing after them. Move, Adrian commanded. They ran across the roof, uneven surface, hidden hazards, patches where rot had weakened the structure, and every step risked falling through. The harbor spread out beyond the building's edge, gray water and distant ships, and somewhere in that urban sprawl was safety if they could reach it. The roof's edge arrived faster than expected. 20-foot drop to an alley below, doable but painful. We jump, we probably break something, Alara said. We stay, we definitely die, Adrian countered. Choose. Behind them, figures emerged from the skylight. 5 of them, all armed, all professional. Lena fired. Burst pattern, controlled aggression. One attacker fell. The others scattered for cover behind HVAC units and exhaust vents. No time to argue, Lena shouted. Jump, I cover. Adrian grabbed Alara's hand. Together? Together. They jumped. The fall lasted forever, and no time at all. Alara felt weightless, felt her stomach drop, felt Adrian's fauteuil tight around hers. Then impact, alley pavement rushing up, her legs bending, rolling, momentum carrying her into a painful tumble that ended against a dumpster. Everything hurt. Her ankle screamed. Her shoulder, the one she'd injured during the kidnapping, had reseparated. Blood from the skylight cut soaked through her shirt. But she was alive. Adrian landed better, tucked, rolled, came up in fighting stance. His eyes found her. Can you walk? Can I breathe? Let's go. Gunfire from above. Lena was holding them off, but she couldn't hold forever. They limped down the alley toward the street. Every step sent lightning through Alara's ankle. Adrian's arm circled her waist, taking some of her weight. Lena! He shouted back. She appeared at the roof's edge. Bullets sparked around her. She slung her rifle, grabbed the edge, hung by her fingers for one breathless moment, then dropped. She hit the pavement, rolled, came up firing back at the roof. Go, I cover extraction. They went. Out of the alley, onto a side street, into the anonymous maze of South Boston's industrial district. Adrian knew these streets, led them through routes that twisted and doubled back, using the urban terrain like a weapon. Behind them, the tactical team would be descending, regrouping, following. But they'd lost visual, lost immediate contact, small victories. Adrian pulled them into a parking garage, multi-level concrete structure serving a warehouse that had been converted to lofts. He led them to the 3rd floor, to a nondescript sedan that looked like it had been parked and forgotten, except it started when he touched the door handle. Backup vehicle, he explained, hot wiring it in 15 seconds. I have them stashed all over the city. Old habit. They climbed in, Alara in back, Lena riding shotgun, weapons ready in case this was temporary reprieve instead of actual escape. Adrian drove. Not fast, speed attracted attention, just steady, purposeful, threading through traffic like water through cracks. We need medical attention, Lena said. Alara's bleeding. You're limping. I think I broke rib when I landed. Can't risk hospitals. Syndicate will have people watching. Adrian's hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. I know a place. Off-grid clinic. No questions, no records. We go there, patch up, figure out next move. Next move is obvious, Lena said. We take fight to Syndicate. We use information I gathered to strike first. Strike hard. Eliminate command structure before they can send more teams. That's suicide. We're 3 people. 1 injured, 1 with broken ribs, 1 exhausted. They're an international criminal organization with unlimited resources. 3 people with federal backing, with Sarah Chen's legal authority, with element of surprise. Not enough. Then what do you suggest? We run? We hide? We wait for next team of mercenaries to find us and hope we survive that encounter too. Eventually, Adrian, we lose. Eventually, they send enough people, or we get unlucky, or we run out of ammunition. The only way to win is to change the game. Adrian said nothing, just drove. Alara watched the city pass outside her window. Familiar streets that felt alien now, populated by people who didn't know they were feet away from 3 survivors of violence that had nearly killed them. Normal people, living normal lives. She couldn't remember what that felt like anymore. Adrian, she said quietly. Lena's right. His eyes found hers in the rearview mirror. You're hurt. You need rest. I need this to end. Actually end. Not just survive another attack. Not just hide somewhere else. End. She leaned forward despite her screaming ankle. How many times do we run before we stop running? How many safe houses before we realize nowhere is safe? How many people have to die trying to collect the bounty on your head? You're asking me to start a war. I'm asking you to finish one. To stop reacting and start acting. To be the person you were before you met me, the one who destroyed Dorian's network, who built an empire, who made people afraid to cross you. That person is a monster. Maybe. But he's also the person who can keep us alive. She met his eyes. I didn't survive Michael just to die running from the syndicate. I didn't kill a man, steal a van, jump off a building, just to spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder. So either we end this or we die trying. But I'm done running. The car fell silent except for engine noise and the rhythm of tires on pavement. Adrian drove for another 5 minutes, then pulled over in an alley, killed the engine, turned to face both of them. If we do this, he said slowly, there's no going back. We declare war on the syndicate, we burn every bridge. Law enforcement might turn on us. Rival organizations might see opportunity. We could lose everything. We already have nothing, Lena said. Nothing but each other and the will to survive. Is enough. Alara? She thought about the grocery store where he'd caught her, about the penthouse where she'd healed, about L'Etoile and the warehouse and the meat processing plant, about every moment that had led to this one. I'm in, she said. Whatever it takes. Adrian's expression shifted from conflicted to resolved. The transformation was subtle but absolute, like watching a weapon being loaded. Okay, he said. Okay, we do this, but we do it smart. Lena, you contact Sarah. Tell her we're ready to cooperate fully, that we have everything she needs to prosecute the syndicate leadership. In exchange, she gives us immunity and federal protection during the operation. She will want conditions. She can have them, whatever she wants, as long as we get operational support and she keeps Alara out of the line of fire. I'm not sitting on the sidelines, Alara interrupted. You're injured. You're not trained. I've survived everything they've thrown at us. I've earned the right to be there when this ends. Adrian's jaw worked. You'll stay back. Support role. Guarded at all times. Non-negotiable. Fine. Lena, how fast can you arrange the meeting with Sarah? 1 hour, maybe less. She has been waiting for us to cooperate. We'll jump at opportunity. Good. We meet her, we hand over evidence, we plan the operation. 24 hours from now, the syndicate's command structure burns. We cut the head off the snake and make sure it doesn't grow back. And if it does, Alara asked, then we cut it off again and again, as many times as it takes. He started the car. But it won't. Because this time, we're not leaving anything alive to regenerate. The engine roared to life. Adrian pulled back into traffic. Alara settled into the back seat, her ankle throbbing, her shoulder burning, her entire body a map of accumulated damage. But beneath the pain, something else stirred. Not hope exactly, something harder, more dangerous. Purpose. For 3 weeks she'd been running, been protected, been the thing Adrian fought to keep safe. Now she was going to fight, going to be part of ending the threat instead of hiding from it, going to prove to herself, to Adrian, to everyone, that survival wasn't enough. Sometimes you had to become the monster to kill the monsters. And Alara Voss was ready to bare her teeth. Bulk. The off-grid clinic turned out to be a converted brownstone in Dorchester, residential neighborhood, quiet street, the kind of place where no one asked questions because everyone had secrets. A woman answered Adrian's knock, 60s, gray hair pulled back, wearing scrubs that had seen extensive use. She took one look at the three of them and sighed, "Exam room 2, I'll get supplies." Inside was medical equipment that probably shouldn't exist outside hospitals. X-ray machine, surgical tools, pharmaceutical cabinet that would make the DEA weep. The woman, Dr. Reeves, no first name offered, moved with practiced efficiency. "Ankle first," she said, examining Alara. "Sprained, not broken. You're lucky. Shoulder's partially dislocated. I can manipulate it back, but it'll hurt. The cuts need cleaning and sutures. You'll live, but you need rest." "How long?" 2 weeks minimum, 4 to be safe." "I have 24 hours. Dr. Reeves looked at Adrian. "She's serious?" "Unfortunately. Then I'll do what I can and pump her full of enough painkillers that she won't care about the damage she's causing. But understand, you're borrowing against future pain. Eventually the bill comes due." "I'll pay it," Alara said. The doctor shrugged. "Your funeral." She worked with impersonal competence. relocating Alara's shoulder in one brutal motion that made her scream, wrapping her ankle, stitching cuts, injecting local anesthetic and antibiotics, and something that made the pain recede to a distant roar. Lena's broken rib got taped. Adrian's various contusions got examined and dismissed as superficial. An hour later, they were bandaged, medicated, and marginally functional. Dr. Reeves handed Adrian a bottle of pills. For her, painkillers, strong ones, 2 every 6 hours. Don't let her take more than 8 in 24 hours or her liver fails. And for the love of whatever you believe in, make her rest after whatever suicide mission you're planning. I will. No, you won't, but I had to say it. She walked them to the door. Payment's the same as usual. And Adrian, whatever you're planning, make it count, because I'm tired of patching you up. Eventually, even you run out of luck. They left as the sun was setting, golden hour light turning Boston's skyline into something almost beautiful. Alara felt the painkillers hitting her system, making everything soft around the edges, making her ankle throb less and her thoughts drift. Where to? She asked. Federal building, Adrian said. Sarah's waiting. We give her everything. Plan the strike, end this. The drive took 20 minutes through evening traffic. They parked in the underground garage. Federal facility, concrete and fluorescent lights, guards who recognized Adrian on sight and looked like they wanted to arrest him but had orders not to. Sarah Chen met them in a conference room that smelled like old coffee and newer desperation. She looked exhausted, clearly had been working the case non-stop since Dorian's arrest. You look like hell, she said to Adrian. Syndicate sent a kill team. We look like survivors. How many? 8. We took out 2, lost the rest in South Boston. Sarah swore softly. The contract's public then. Every mercenary on the East Coast will be looking for you, which is why we need to end this. Now, today, before they can coordinate another attempt. Show me what you have. Lena produced the tablet, laid out everything. Names, photos, financial records, operational documents. Sarah's expression shifted as she scrolled, from skepticism to interest to barely contained excitement. This is, Jesus Christ, Lena, this is comprehensive. We can prosecute everyone from lieutenants to board members, dismantle the entire organization. That is idea. But it'll take months, years maybe. Building cases, securing witnesses, navigating international law. We do not have years, Adrian interrupted. We have maybe days before they send another team, maybe hours, so we need to strike now, fast, hard, eliminate the leadership before they can regroup. You're talking about assassination. I can't sanction that. I'm a federal prosecutor, not a... Then look the other way. Adrian leaned forward. You want the syndicate destroyed? You want prosecutable evidence and witnesses who'll testify? Give us 24 hours. We'll deliver their leadership to you. Some alive, some not. Your choice which ones matter. Sarah stared at him. You're asking me to greenlight vigilante justice. I'm asking you to use the tools available. Lena has the intelligence. I have the resources. You have the legal authority to make sure we're not arrested afterward. We work together, we end this. You work alone, they rebuild in shadows, and we're back here in 5 years. And her? Sarah gestured at Alara. What's her role in this suicide run? I'm bait, Alara said before Adrian could answer. I'm the thing they want. The leverage they'll use against Adrian, so we give them what they want. We put me somewhere visible, somewhere they can't resist hitting, and when they come, we spring the trap, Lena finished. Use their aggression against them. Classic misdirection. Sarah looked between the 3 of them like they'd lost their minds. That's the plan? Use a civilian as bait for international killers? You have better idea? Lena asked. Literally any other idea. Protective custody, witness protection, leaving the country until we can build proper case, all of which take time we don't have, Adrian said, and all of which leave the syndicate operational. This way, we solve multiple problems at once. Or you all die, and I have to explain to my superiors why I let it happen. You won't have to explain anything, because either we succeed, in which case the syndicate's leadership is neutralized and you can prosecute the survivors, or we fail, in which case we're dead, and you can honestly say you advised against it. Sarah sat back, scrubbed her hands over her face. I hate everything about this. But you're right. Time isn't on our side, and conventional approach will take too long. She pulled out her phone, made a call. When someone answered, she spoke in clipped bureaucratic tones, authorizing operational support, tactical teams, surveillance assets. When she hung up, her expression was grim. You have 24 hours. Federal support is yours. But understand, if this goes sideways, if civilians die, if this becomes a public disaster, I will throw you to the wolves, all of you. No immunity, no protection. You'll face every charge I can make stick. Clear? Crystal, Adrian said. Then tell me the plan, detail by detail. And it better be more sophisticated than use Alara as bait and hope we shoot first. Adrian looked at Lena. You've been planning this.